like it.
And, I think that we're especially for those of us who have been with this thing for a while, I mean, it's important to remember how far we've come. I mean, we have a mass base in a way that we didn't have before. We have a mass constituency. We matter in terms of mainstream politics. We're having an impact on these sorts of things. And whatever our frustrations with President Trump, I mean, you can even see with the State of the Union last night. If you had a president saying these sorts of things 10 years ago, we would have thought that we've won. Of course, we can't be satisfied where we are. We've got a long way to go, and the stakes are very high, but we shouldn't kid ourselves that we haven't gotten anywhere, that nothing's been accomplished. Quite a lot has been accomplished. And so it's important to stay optimistic.
Yeah, I agree. Advocate is the word I couldn't think of 2 minutes ago for some reason.
That's Jared's word. Yeah. Advocate.
Yeah. And also something just FYI, the YouTube chat is like totally glitched. It will only post like emojis. All the words are getting immediately censored. They're not showing up in the widget. It's very funny. So people are like posting / and that's going through. And then other people are saying hello and they're getting censored or whatever. So it's just a little buggy today. Also, Jeremy, he did message me just now. He's having like a camera issue that he's trying to fix. So he said he should be here shortly. He's just trying to sort out his tech issues. I did not watch the State of the Union. What did I miss? Was he saying that they all have to go back again or?
I mean, there's some of the things obviously are just kind of rhetoric. He kind of set them into some traps. One thing that apparently was just an ad lib, but was pretty effective, was basically when he said, if you believe that the primary duty of the United States is to put American citizens first above illegal aliens, stand up. And of course, all the Democrats stayed seated except for like Fetterman. Then he went after, he said a pretty funny thing where he started talking about Somali pirates ransacking Minnesota. And so Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib started screaming at him, and he told them they should be ashamed of themselves. And that was pretty funny. There were a few other high points in terms of immigration, in terms of crime, in terms of some of the issues that we care about. Obviously, of course, at the end, he started talking about Iran, and it's like, yeah, here we go. I mean, because at this point, you have a tremendous amount of military force in the Middle East. And yeah, I mean, he threw some missiles at him last time, and in a week, nobody cared. But you get the impression that this is going to be a much bigger deal, and something like this could pretty much eat the administration and whatever else it's trying to do. I think it was the Homeland Institute, which came out with a poll today showing basically overwhelming opposition to any kind of military strike on Iran. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I've got my Nick Fuentes apology form all filled out. I just haven't signed it yet. I haven't signed. I'm waiting for the missile, and then I'll have to sign it and post it. Speaking of which, you were at AFPAC, the last one that happened. What was that, 2024 now? It feels like forever.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. I don't know if he's planning on doing another or what, but yeah, I was at the last one.
Yeah, I heard he's not planning anytime soon, and also he's still got a lawsuit going on for that one. But I wanted to say you gave a really good speech.
Oh, thanks.
Because I remember like they had Vincent James, and then they had Jared Taylor, and then you. That was like the lineup, and I was like, how is this guy after Jared Taylor? Like that doesn't, surely Jared Taylor's the headliner. And then you gave your speech, and I was like, oh, I get it. He like it kind of like escalated as it went. You went really hard, and you got us all shut down too, kind of. Or you had people pouring drinks on us from the balcony up above and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if I have one regret, it's that I should have just kind of barreled through and finished the thing. But I wanted to make sure that Nick had a chance to talk. It's his conference after all. And so, and obviously, I mean, I know he catches a lot of crap, but I mean, you just got to look at he's the best in the game. And frankly, I mean, anyone who goes after him needs to understand, like, look at what he's accomplished. And the fact is, whatever people throw at him, he just kind of keeps overcoming it and keeps going. So he deserves all the credit in the world for that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to get into some of Nick's hot takes in a moment here. I was just kind of buying a little time for Jeremy. He said he's going to be here in a second. So we'll go to the first clip here. Speaking of Somali pirates, let me know if you saw this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's in Britain.
Yeah, it's kind of the audio is kind of muffled, but it's like this elderly couple. They're on the phone with the police because this guy is just like outside their front door and he won't go away. And he's got his face pushed up against the glass. I mean, I see this and
28 days
I don't
later.
know why,
28
but I
days later.
immediately think of like Camp of the Saints. I just immediately think of like that quote about how your world means nothing to them, and just the general idea of being like surrounded in a sea of sort of alien brown people who are like just totally different from you. And I don't know.
Well, I mean, the obvious thing when you look at that image is it's literally straight out of 28 Days Later, where you have the black guy with the rage virus going like, oh, he's the zombie getting ready to break in. Like, this is a dead on thing. I mean, it's the exact same image. And of course, you know what happens here. I mean, if that guy broke in and they did something to defend themselves, like they would be the ones who get arrested. There was a really revealing quote from somebody on X, and I actually give her a lot of credit because it showed a remarkable self-awareness that you usually don't see among leftists, where she said something along the lines of, we on the left don't see crime as something that's morally important. It's just something that happens, like the weather, which is something that I've been noting about them for a very long time. And it's like, yeah. So when you see a guy like this, like you and I see it as like, this is a horrifying thing. This is like being trapped in a nightmare. This is literally a horror movie. But to them, it's just kind of something that happens. Maybe he's in crisis. Maybe they just haven't been given enough money. The really morally problematic thing would be us saying, look at this animal. Or if these people defended themselves, then actually those people are the problem.
Yeah, that's funny because animal was exactly like the word I stopped myself from using when I was talking about being surrounded. That's so funny.
You're more politically correct than I am, I guess.
I try.
No, he's just
crazy.
America is going to look very different in 100 years. You're not going to be able to tell you're black, you're white, you're Hispanic, you're Puerto Rican, whatever. It's going to be very complex, and I think ultimately that's going to be good.
All right. Nope. That is, of course, Chris Rufo, who is, somewhat of a darling of the right. This is an old clip. It's I think it's 2019, but I included it because he went really hard after Nick Fuentes this week, publishing an article accusing Fuentes of trying to get money from Peter Thiel. And the whole reason he doesn't like JD Vance is because Peter Thiel didn't give him money, basically. And what kind of ticked me off the most was he said this line about how Nick Fuentes is an agent of the left or a tool of the left because, and this is like you hear this all the time, like he's a boogeyman. He gives them a reason to say, look at these people, they're racist, they're anti-Semitic, that's what conservatives are. So they love people like Fuentes because I used to think like this too when I was more naive. So I understand the argument, but if you're advocating for like total miscegenation into a brown sludge, which is what he's like, you're not a tool of the left. You are the left. You literally are the left. Yeah.
Right. I mean, if somebody wanted to go after Nick for saying, and this wouldn't even be going after, this would be like a tactical criticism, right? If you were like, well, he's saying don't vote, and I disagree with that. That's one thing. But if
which is what I have to fill my apology form out, just for the record. If we go to Iraq war, yeah.
Right. But I mean, that's probably what's going to happen. Although, we'll see if it's a war or whether it's just a repeat of last time where they launch some missiles, everybody goes nuts, and in a week, nobody cares. But we'll see. I mean, I think this one is going to be a lot bigger. But if you look at, and yes, I know this was an old interview. If you think of the way a lot of people were in 2019, a lot of people have come a very long way. All that said, that article, frankly, was a disgrace. I mean, there were some people who really have no reason to be backing Nick, who were also noting that this was a disgrace. Communism Kills, who's another OG. I mean, she was right in there saying, what are you doing publishing this, which is only going to give comfort to your enemies. If you look at some of the lines of attacks there, they recycled a very old one where they were like, oh, there was this guy in France who committed suicide and he gave Bitcoin donations to Fuentes. Right. And this proves there's something nefarious. Well, a lot of people got those donations, maybe not as much as he did. Yeah. But among the people who randomly got that were Amran, Adair, like all these people.
Ethan
like, and
Ralph
it wasn't
of the Kill Stream notably got some of the Bitcoin.
Like a lot of people got this. So like first, the minute I saw that, I was like, this is just a complete cheap shot. And then you see it like, oh, well, this guy did something. And they quoted this guy, Dalton, who I actually had me on a show a long time ago.
Right.
And, you
Dalton
know, it was just,
Codfelter or
yeah,
whatever his name. Yeah,
right. And it was just kind of like a freewheeling, like humorous thing and everything else. But I remember it. And so, you know, I have pretty fond feelings of it because it was a fun time and everything else. But he's been basically saying, like, look, I wasn't criticizing him, but they took these quotes out of context and made it look like Nick Fuentes like ruined my life or something, which is not true at all. And this is the kind of cheap shot that you see from liberal journalists. They do this kind of stuff all the time, which is why you shouldn't talk to them, because whatever you say, they're going to mix and match and use it to put in their preset narrative. I mean, if you wanted to criticize them, fine, but first of all, I don't see what the point of that is at this point. And second, this was just a cheap shot. And the kind of attack that like, oh, this is what the left wants and everything else. You could say that about literally anybody. And this is what they have said from everybody from Pat Buchanan on.
Yeah, it's really kind of a chilling effect when you say, well, don't
say
say anything
Jared,
that the left would criticize.
Right. And also,
I mean,
like,
I'm
you could say the
diametrically
exact same thing
opposed to
about Jared
them,
Taylor.
so it's kind of hard not to. Hey, let's say hi to Jeremy MacKenzie here. He's with us, folks, from Canada, calling in from the Great White North, my old stomping grounds. Hey, man, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's a little muffled, but I think maybe
I can make it louder. I can
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, you're coming through fine.
Okay. All right. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Kevin, nice to meet you. I've never spoken to you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. I talked to one of your countrymen yesterday, Fortis.
Okay.
About the Dominion Society and everything else. And I know your second sons and everything. It's good to see that there's some resistance building in the Great White North.
Yeah, we're working on it. Again, the minute or so I listened in on when I was just getting set up here, I agreed with everything you're saying. So I'm sure we'll get along fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll get the apologies out of the way for the threats of annexation and the hockey taunting and all the rest of it. But we're Americans. We're complete pricks. It's just inherent to the national character. I'm sorry.
You'd have to talk to China about that. That's who actually.
Well, it's great to have you back, Jeremy. I remember having you on my channel in like 2017, or it was a long time ago when you first had that. You were protesting that Afghani terrorist guy who was doing a speaking tour in Canada, and it's such a long time, but it's nice to see you still going hard and doing your thing all these years later.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was would have been 2019 or early 2020. It was right before COVID, actually. I remember that. And I remember thinking, like, who's this guy? I'd never saw your channel and, oh, well, he's doing well. I wonder if he knows I'm like a terrorist. I'm like a radioactive, horrible.
Who isn't?
Well, I think that was before the Diagolong days or whatever. Like, did you get into legal trouble? I don't follow it super closely. I just kind of hear, like, do you want to kind of tell people what kind of government crackdown you've been dealing with up there in Canada?
Ooh. Well, that would take some time. I'm not exactly known for my brevity in the first place, but it's a very confusing and bizarre story that, if I hadn't lived through it, I wouldn't have believed it. I would just my eyes would glaze over, but it's it's very bizarre. Yeah, I was charged with a pile of different things after the one right before the convoy, and then another pile after, just, trumped up weapons charges and just stupid things like, a girlfriend remembered that you beat her up 6 months after the fact and just told us right now, now that you're in the news with another woman that she doesn't know about. So she's mad, and like this kind of stuff. So I had 23 charges in 5 cases over 3 different provinces simultaneously. And I did beat them all because they were all fake and made up and stupid, but it did cost a considerable amount of money and time, obviously.
Yeah.
But the meme was, it was just early on in the COVID days. You had Western Canada was resistant to the mandates because there's no legal mechanism to force people to do any of this. So it was kind of just peer pressure, and the Western provinces were just not doing it at first. So, and I noticed there was a correlation with basically more conservative right-leaning areas. So the United States was like the Midwest down like through Florida. was resisting that as well. So I said, well, we'll just do our own. They're living in their own fantasy world, so we'll just create our own breakaway fantasy state as well, and we'll just Alaska to Florida. We'll just cut this continent in half, and we'll all just live there, and we'll call it Diagolon, because it's the whole thing was preposterous on purpose. I was high on edibles when I did it. It just became like a branding vehicle for the podcast and the community over the years. But there's no bad guys up here. There's no super villain or monster under the bed to point to say, this is why I need more authority as a state official, because look at the danger you're in from these people. So this was the best they could do. And I just fit the bill as I'm a military retired veteran. I had a big beard at the time. I was swearing in public. So basically I'm Pablo Escobar by Canadian standards. I'm the scariest person that's ever lived. So they ran with that. And I was naively very confident that once people dig into this, it's going to be like like a Jack in the Box surprise. You're an idiot. There's no terrorists here, so we just kind of leaned into it. And no, they ran with this all the way up to the Prime Minister's office and enabled martial law, suspended civil liberties, took political prisoners, did all that based on the meme world that I invented that never existed. And they bold-faced tried to tell everyone that the country was very close to very imminent threat of a coup by me and my goat figurine here, who's also time travels and has a drug problem and all of this other stuff. But not just Canada, America as well. Apparently we could have took that down too. So I must have a substantial. I don't know why the Russians or Chinese haven't called me yet. I didn't realize I was this powerful, but I'm not invited to any of the alliances. Iran doesn't email me, like nobody does. But yeah, since it's all been defeated and gone, there's been nothing. They have not said my name, said a word in pretty much 2 years.
You're exonerated now. You're like the Central Park Five. Which I'm really glad. I'm really glad you beat the charges. Do you want to tell us like how much that cost, or is that?
It was like, I think it was all told, it was like 310 or 20,000. So it wasn't that bad actually for money. I'm like, I had some lawyers quoting me that for one case.
Yeah.
One guy wanted 80 grand just to do a bail hearing. I was like, do you think I got Bitcoin money or what is this? What do you think I have here? I'm a, blue collar, retired veteran with no education from Nova Scotia, Canada. Like I'm 2 steps away from homeless. Like, what do you think this is? But I got connected with a very, very good, competent criminal defense team, and they underestimated the amount of support I had. It's as simple as that. I was just, again, who am I? I'm just some whack job with a podcast in a basement. I was literally in a basement. Yeah. So they stick them with all these charges, and they'll have to plead to some of them, or you're going to catch some of them, and you're going to be in jail or tied up in the legal system, and you're going to be dealt with for a long time. And like, what's he going to do? Is he going to get hundreds of thousands of dollars raised and go get some big shot, lawyer from Toronto? Yeah, that's exactly what we did. And, that's not going to get a second, if they come at me again, it's going to be a lot more deliberate and well thought out. They basically sent the B team after me. So, it was, once I got that lawyer in place, once I was already in jail in Saskatchewan, they hauled me out there for a common assault charge. So like if you just shove someone or spit on them or something like that, that's a 266 assault charge. They sent 5 cops with their own plane off duty. Like they signed up for overtime to fly across the country to get me, to bring me back there. They denied me bail. They kept me in there. The next hearing after mine was a woman who broke a bottle and stabbed another woman in the neck downtown in Saskatoon, killed her. She got bail. I stayed in, and I had to fight my way out of there. But once those guys got on, it was just a matter of time to I just need a competent guy who can see this and not be taken in by the, violent, scary, ideologically motivated. Like it's unbelievable what the fear that has on people. But he was a guns and gangs guy from Toronto. So like, he's like, this is a joke to me. This is preposterous. This is annoying. He would say, he's like, I'm so over this. I hate flying out there and dealing with these morons. And he would just beat the living crap out of it. It was a lot of fun for me that way to watch. And I got a great education in how all this works and how crooked and far gone the justice system really is. Like, for example, one of the judges we had told, because part of why some of them took longer was because we were arguing abuse of process. This is just political persecution. Mm-hmm. There's no basis for any of these charges. This was abuse by the system, blah, blah, blah. So we had to, because we filed it, we had to carry this out to its conclusion so the judge could rule on it, which of course she ruled, nope, no abuse whatsoever. And we had evidence of police burying evidence, inventing evidence, lying on the stand, like right there, cold dead fish on the table. And she just turned and looked and said, well, the police don't lie. So It's like, so there. So I'm like, well, what do we need you for then? Why do we have courts at all? If the police don't lie, then this is all just a redundant waste of time, isn't it? But anyway, so
yeah, that's why it's almost amazing that you beat the charges at all. But again, I'm glad you did. That's
again,
awesome.
it's because I'm lucky because I don't think they, it's like there's a lot of characters like this up here, like Pat King and others were just making noises and kind of just not really anything to be worried about. So I think it usually works. It's like, what weapon do you go for? It's 99 times out of 100. This works every time. This was the one time it didn't work. And shit. So,
all right. I do have
now
some
they're changing the laws.
I do have some clips. Oh, they're changing the laws. Yeah. I do have some clips I want to show you guys. So let's segue back into, we'll finish up
whatever. It's going to be very complex. And I think ultimately that's going to be good.
Move on to the next one.
Well, hey, guess what? I cut off my parents this weekend because they support ICE, and I called my mom a pussy ass bitch, and I hung up that damn phone and I cut them out. Well, guess what? The story amps up. The story fucking amps up. I found out last night that the men of my family, they decided to have a secret little meetup with my other family members because they wanted to discuss my mental health. Because I, the woman, must be having a mental health crisis. I must be having a mental breakdown. Because if I'm against ICE, being overly brutal and violent and breaking laws and breaking constitutional rights and, just being outright insane, I must be insane. I must be having a mental health crisis. And of course it was thrown out again that I'm going to lose my son because I'm mentally insane. Because I'm losing. I think it's telling a lot on y'all that I say it's wrong to break laws, brutalize, and murder people. And you guys are like, she's having a mental health crisis. We gotta go take her child. 1950s. Come get these motherfuckers, please, because the fuck?
Yeah, I'm triggered. I don't know what to tell you. I'm triggered beyond belief. People like that are just... One hesitates to say that it's really just as simple as input-output with the media, but you see cases like that, and you really question how many people are even sentient, because this is not radicalized by extreme content. This is not Antifa. This is not, college education or something like that. This is late night comedy shows. This is mainstream media news. Yeah, this is what's in every magazine. So, and you see what it does to people. And how many cases have we seen recently? There was just some suburban housewife or something who just got arrested for trying to firebomb an ICE headquarters. And you have to ask, the question is not Antifa, left-wing communists and everything else. No, it's the fact that you have bored housewives on SSRIs who are watching cable news 16 hours a day and just losing their mind. That's the problem.
Nailed
Jewish daycare. Not good for you.
Yeah.
Jaws. I know we're not blackpilling today, but I do see stuff like that. And I remember the Project 2025 memes. And I kind of think we should be putting these people in padded rooms, that we should be rounding them up. Clearly she's unwell. Clearly she needs help. She needs some deprogramming. So,
and this is why, masculinity and masculine energy at large has just been, intentionally ripped right out of our system and our society. But that would be very much required. You need a lot of strength and composure and maturity to discern the difference between, my freedom and your health, because allowing these people just to fester like this, who is this good for?
Right.
Are we respecting their freedom? Are you respecting the freedom of somebody who's a methamphetamine addict as well? Or somebody who's eating themselves to death, or somebody this doesn't make us good people by allowing them and say, oh, it's freedom. It's the freedom to just self-destruct. That's somebody's child. That was somebody's 3-year-old at one point, and probably thought, I wonder what you're going to be when you grow up. A psychopath, a lunatic, a deranged mental patient, and again, it wasn't their choice. They were lied to. They were abused. And ultimately, these people are victims of the same system and machine that, we're all fighting against. And they've infected them and weaponized them to attack themselves, their own people. They hate themselves. They hate their own face in the mirror. They hate everybody and everything. And the real twisted, sick irony is that they paint it all with a rainbow flag and say it's all about love and tolerance when it's the exact opposite.
Well, and hates her family too, because she was saying how the men in her family, her dad and her brother or whatever, they were talking about how she's unwell, right? And she's like, well, She should see that as they care about her, they're worried about her, but instead she just sees it as a chance to like talk about how much she like loves illegal immigrants, which is kind of proving the insane part of it, the thesis, right? Okay, let's go to the next one here because we're
don't
have
vote.
to
Do not vote in the midterms.
These.
The Republicans have to lose. They have to lose. They have to crash and burn.
You're not a huge Fuentes fan, right, Jeremy?
Not even a little one. No.
Okay, not even a little one. All right. Well, let's hear him out, and then we'll just respond to what he has to say in this clip. Okay.
A cleansing fire is the only thing that will save us. It cannot be fixed. Fuck them. Fuck Trump. Fuck MAGA. Fuck all this stuff. It can't be fixed. If it could have been fixed, it would have been fixed in 2025, but it wasn't. They made every mistake. Liberation Day, disaster. Doge, disaster. Big Beautiful Bill, disaster. Epstein files, disaster. Iran, disaster. The personnel, Mike Waltz, disaster. Ratcliffe, disaster. Rubio, disaster. Pam Bondi, disaster. All self-inflicted. Trump personnel, Trump policy, Trump strategy, Trump playbook. We tried it your way. It didn't work. Fuck you. Now we don't vote. That's the message. Seriously. Can't blame anybody else. Bad advice, bad advisors, Biden's economy. Enough already. It didn't work. We're not voting. I'm staying home, and you know what? I hope the Democrats impeach him. I hope the Democrats impeach all of them. I hope they indict everybody. I hope they depose and compel the release of documents, and I hope they find all the criminal behavior, and I hope it destroys the GOP. I hope it creates a crisis for the GOP so severe that they never recover. And then I hope we get a fucking Nazi to run in 28. And I mean that metaphorically. I don't mean that literally. I hope we get a fucking fascist to run in 28 to burn the GOP down as a dark horse and win the presidency as a right-wing radical. That is my hope.
Thoughts? I guess, okay, so I guess boiling it down to the fundamental question here, when do you just stop voting? At like what level of betrayal? Because I really see strongly the argument for still the Republicans or the GOP being like the less of two evils, right? When I think of what a Democrat presidency would look like, how it might impact me and people I love directly, I see very clearly the argument for voting for J.D. Vance or whoever. But I also see the point of like, how many times do you like allow these people to disappoint you and betray you until you finally say, I'm not doing that anymore. So I don't know what the answer is, but maybe you guys do.
I mean, look, all right, one, I don't want to start a giant thing, but I suppose we kind of have to. One, I mean, he's said in the past, like, look, if the Democrats win in 2028, I might have to leave the country because you get arrested, get shut down, and everything else. So at one level, yeah, I mean, obviously there are consequences, and he knows that. Two, in terms of, if the GOP burns down, there is no GOP to burn down. It's not like Europe where you have this strong party system. The GOP is nothing but the individual politicians who are running who make it up. I mean, Trump did a hostile takeover in 2016. Anybody else could do the exact same thing. There's no institution to burn down. So even if the GOP as a corporate entity like disappeared tomorrow, it would make no difference because the coalition would still be there and you would just have another personality step up and do the thing. In terms of, the records of failure and everything else, again, 2024 Trump administration is 1,000 times better than the 2016 Trump administration. It's not even close when you look at the policies that are in place. So if one were to say, it's a failure, you could make that argument, but you can't make that argument if you enthusiastically supported him through 2016 and then in 2020, even to the point of the Stop the Steal and everything else. And finally, and I think most importantly, no, accelerationism does not work. No, there's no point where it gets like burned down and then people spontaneously rise up. Did the GOP in California become based once it became a minority party? No. Did whites in South Africa rise up and become based once they gave away the country and the ANC took over and everything went to hell? No. Is there any possibility that like Rhodesia is going to come back, even though all the most nightmarish predictions about what would happen to Zimbabwe happen? No.
Maybe
You
it
have
just
to give
hasn't gotten
people a
bad enough
realistic
yet.
alternative. And here's the key. There's not a single, not one pro-white elected official in the United States of America, not one explicit guy. You look at the left-wing streamers, you look at the left-wing influencers, they're hanging around with mayors, they're running for Congress themselves, they're winning primaries. Like, that's power. Where the fuck are we? What are we doing? And it's going to come and turn into these things. Maybe it could, but at some point, somebody has to run for something. Somebody has to win something. I mean, there's no point where you sit aside and things go to hell and then you like get to win. And the other problem, of course, is just that the numbers are not there. I mean, there is a time limit to this in terms of demographics. The numbers are not there. If you look at the demographic damage the Biden administration alone did to this country, I do not think that we are in a position where you can survive that once again. And maybe you could say, well, things will get to a certain point, and if the country collapses, if the current elites are displaced, then maybe whites can do X, Y, and Z. But I think that presupposes a level of agency among the white population, which nothing in our history suggests is really there. If you look at revolutionary movements in the Anglo-American sphere, obviously this applies to Canada too, it tends to happen through existing institutions at some level. From the English Civil War to the American Revolution to the war between the states, Anglos aren't like the French. We don't just like rise up and march on the Capitol. There has to be some basis of power within the existing institutions that you can launch a rebellion from. And so at some point, somebody has to win something. At some point, somebody has to be in a position of power. And I'm not hearing anybody talk about how we get there. Now, I'm not pretending I have all the answers, but I don't think that anything good is going to happen from, step one, stand aside, step two, step three, we magically win. I don't think anybody else seriously believes that either.
Jeremy? But did he freeze?
I've stunned him. I'm sorry.
I think he just...
I mean, it's just like, look at Virginia right now. And this is obviously personal to me because this is where I live. If you look at Virginia right now, people would complain about like the old Republican governor, like, oh, he's not doing enough. He's not doing enough at the Confederate monuments. This, that,
Yeah.
Democrats get in within, he's probably going to come back. So I'll just keep going. If you look at what happened with Virginia, and again, the governor of Virginia gave the Democratic response to the State of the Union last night. First thing they did, we're going to do gun control. We're going to roll out all these welfare programs like the ones in Minnesota that have been taken advantage of.
Yeah. Remove minimum sentencing.
Right.
Abortion,
we're gonna
full term. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's a complete
Crazy.
nightmare. And we're going to push through this redistricting plan to make sure that rural Virginia essentially has no representation whatsoever. Now, does anyone, and I mean this seriously, and I'm open to being persuaded here. I'm not trying to be like, oh, whatever. But does anyone think that people in Virginia are going to go through all this and then like rise up and something good is going to happen? Because that's not what happened in California. So why would it happen in Virginia? Why would it happen anywhere? People will get used to anything. People will get used to any level of decline. But if you give them an alternative, if you say this is a way we can realistically win, then you can get somewhere. Now, I understand. I think there is a moral issue involved. And I do believe, and I want to make this very clear, I think Nick is absolutely arguing in good faith. I don't think that this is like, oh, he's an agent of the left and all this like stupid stuff. No, he believes what he's saying. I don't see any reason to distrust him on that. But the question becomes, if you're dealing in politics, which is necessarily you're dealing in power, I mean, this is no time for a theological approach. We're not here to like prove how clever we are or prove our morality or anything else. The question has to be, if these people are betraying you, this coalition is not doing the kinds of things you want, how do we develop enough political power such that we can pressure them to do the kinds of things that we want? And to some extent, again, I would argue that the 2024 Trump administration has done a lot more of the kinds of things that we would want than the 2016 Trump administration. And certainly even the 2016 Trump administration would have done a lot more than any other administration of my lifetime. So this is the kind of conversation we need to be having. I am quite open to the most radical solutions, certainly. I mean, that's fundamentally where I am in my gut. But I question whether anyone actually wants to do these things or just talk about it.
Jeremy, thoughts?
Well, yeah, sorry, I got disconnected there for a second, I think.
Yeah.
Bit of a spot there.
That's why I kind of filibustered. I was trying to buy you some time.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. I mean, for starters, like you said, I'm not a big Fuentes fan because, I mean, he does what's good for him. His main and primary motivation is himself, which is on its face fundamentally why I don't think anyone should take anything that he says seriously at all. He's flip-flopped and changed positions on more things than anyone can count. He's part of the reason why Trump gained steam and got in there in the first place. He was carrying water for him and ringing bells for him all the time up until now he doesn't like him. Now he does like him. This and that. It's about his internet presence and his little business that he has there. That's his primary motivation, and encouraging people to keep participating in the voting system, which we all know it's not a thought or a theory. It's extremely corrupt. America is not in control of America. Israel is. That's beyond any doubt whatsoever. So regardless of whatever you want to vote for and do, ultimately whoever is elected is not doesn't matter. They're not beholden to the American people. They're beholden to whatever Mossad or Tel Aviv wants them to do. So, and he knows that. So we're not going to vote. We're going to vote. Part of the point of what you said is time. There isn't infinite time to do this. We'll try this guy. We'll try that guy. We'll try. This has been happening for decades. This has been going back a long time. I mean, I pretty much, you said, when do you give up on voting? Ron Paul, when was that? Was that 2012 when he was selling out stadiums and he was on the ticket, I think Republican, and they were, it was everything in the primaries. I'm not totally 100% on how the American system works, so forgive me if I mess this up a little bit. But like, for example, in the newspapers and CNN and stuff, they would say, in first place, we've got Barack Obama, and then in third place, Newt Gingrich, and in fourth place, and they would just skip. Ron Paul was in second, and they just, no, you don't exist. And they would put up a silhouette of no one and not even have his name while he had the picture of Obama and a picture of Gingrich. And they wouldn't let him talk. No one would interview him. And when they did, they tried to say he stormed out of an interview angrily like he did. That's not what happened. And he was, again, massively popular, more popular than Bernie Sanders ever was or anything like that. And entire counties were like, oh, no one voted, it turns out. Oh, well, I guess Ron Paul lost because no one can. Like, that was evident back then. What has changed that? So as soon as Trump hit the scene and all of a sudden everybody was like, this is the guy, this is the thing. I thought we already know that they can just choose to just turn you off. You're just not on TV if we don't want you to be on TV. So why is he allowed on TV? So that wasn't good. Then you discover, well, his entire family's married into Jewish royalty, like Jared Kushner, for example, who's his son-in-law and has come out from some of the Epstein files. The FBI said, yeah, he's running the White House. His 2016 presidency, he was basically the guy making all the decisions, it turned out. And he's very close with Bibi Netanyahu. He's got all kinds of these very nefarious connections, Lutnick and Dershowitz and all these people. And he's New York, a lot of New York gangsters, bad people. Cohen, Roy Cohen, his lawyer, like bad dudes. And then also he's been friends with Jeffrey Epstein for several decades. I didn't know he was doing any of those things. Really, there's more pictures of Trump and Jeffrey Epstein together than there are of me and my girlfriend Morgan together. And shockingly, and people may not know this, but she and I have sex a lot. So we know each other quite well. And there's more pictures of them together than us. So this whole idea that, we just get out of here. And they're withholding millions of documents and all this kind of thing. So this whole thing is like, who is this good for? Is this good for the American people, or is it good for Nick Fuentes to keep playing this game? Like, stay on the internet, send me money, but we're going to just talk. They're going to do things and we're going to talk about it because I'm comfortable here. This is comfortable for me to do this. And we'll just, I'll just try to weasel my way through. And like, how's this helping America? It's
right,
not.
but it sounds like you are in agreement with Nick that the
Yeah, I was
voting
just gonna
is
say,
not
that
the
sounds
way to
more like
go.
you're in
And
agreement
I'm
with
wondering
me.
if did you hear what Kevin was saying about the Trump administration being like, just way better than what you would get with the Democrats, and what you don't agree with that, or because I find it hard to disagree with that.
In a sense, I mean, I kind of wanted the conservatives up here to win because I wanted people to see that it doesn't matter who wins, because we've been under the liberals for so long and they were
Right.
so sure you just get these guys in, then you'll see. And I was like, yeah, you will see. You'll see the exact same shit happen anyway. And that maybe then you can capitalize on that kind of disenfranchisement from a lot of people to, use the momentum to try to actually, let's talk about a third option. Like this whole thing is rigged. Like we know it is. And it's not from people that are skimming money in casinos. They're child predators, they're monsters, they're supremacists, they're genocidal maniacs, they're murderers, they're terrorists, that's who's doing this. And we're just, oh well, I guess maybe we'll try and get somebody elected. Like it doesn't matter who, even if you did get, you could get the best guy elected. Like Ron Paul, he gets elected. There he is, Ron Paul. I swear on the bang, they blow his head off right there in the first day. That's already happened. They've already done that a number of times. They've asked the Kennedy family how that went. So you can't rest your hopes on a guy. There needs to be a guy to fix it. We need to vote in a guy. We need one guy. You need like a groundswell of gravity, of momentum from a movement of people. That one guy, alive or dead, is not going to make a difference in whether this is moving forward or not. If you rest everything on one guy, you can just kill one guy, or ruin one guy, or jail one guy, or put child porn on his computer, whatever they do. But if it's not about one guy, it's about something way bigger than that. It's a revolution, which is what needs to happen. I don't see, this isn't like a hyperbolic, like, we need to just blow it up. Logically, I don't see any other path forward long term that 50 years from now, 10 years from now, that we're in any position that looks good without that. Everything else is just kicking the can down the road as the boat sinks and they make off with more money. And again, the numbers are changing. Like in Canada, we've got, I think it's we're about 50%. They say it's a little higher, 70% white Canadians still.
2041 is when it twists, right? 2041 is minority white.
Well, I think it's probably there now. I think they're fudging the numbers a bit.
Really? That bad?
Well, and half the people we do have, and I don't think it's much different in the United States, half the people of this white majority are 55, 60 years old and older. Mm-hmm. So we're already past that tipping point, and it's just going to accelerate coming forward. So within 10 years, I wouldn't be surprised to see there's no one in government anywhere. So even if you started right now, we'll start a political party today. How long is it going to take you to win an election? At least if you were, unbelievably well, somehow you did it in 4 years. Do we even have 4 years? I mean, that's 8, 12, probably not. And where is the money going to come from? And then in the meantime, they're just passing laws to make it institutionally, it's illegal for you to even exist as an organization. We'll just say you're that path is closed, and we need to think outside the box and think of different ways forward to assert ourselves and find a way to exist, because we're playing into a game and into a system that they've not necessarily created, hijacked and manipulated and changed to, they always win. It's like playing a rigged game of Monopoly or something where they always win anyway. And if you think, if I just play harder, I can no, you can't. It's set up that way. So they say, well, the system's broken. It's not broken. It's working exactly as it's intended. So I don't like, particularly what I don't like with Fuentes is he discourages people from getting involved in any of the movements and elements like I've been talking about, any kind of active clubs or communities or anything like these, any kind of organizing like that.
Right.
Because what Kevin said is not, people don't just spontaneously, like I had somebody say, we just need to chimp out. I'm like, no, we don't need to chimp out. That's not, first of all, we don't do that. And second of all, what would that achieve? What can happen though, is when there is organizations, institutions, companies, and anything, and large groups of organized people working towards a singular goal, whatever that is going to have a way better chance than not. So we need to create those things, create those institutions, organizations, groups, companies, everything. If they don't exist, then go create them, because without them, you're sitting here clicking likes and retweets and sending emojis and comment, and everybody's just arguing and fighting over things on the internet while they're getting away with all the money and killing everybody. So it's We don't have forever.
Yeah,
we
it's
might only
funny
have
because like I
10
agree
years.
with both of you, even though you guys seem to have totally different takes on it. But it's like I think that people like
It's the
politically
elephant scenario.
organizing
Well,
is
it's a
still like,
multiplicity of approaches. Like
yeah,
I had
yeah,
Rob,
yeah. You can
I
do
had
both.
Rob
I think you can do
Rondo
both
of
things. Yeah.
Active Club fame. I had Rob Rondo of Active Club fame on the show today. And, we're talking about this kind of stuff. And
Mhm.
Obviously, look, full disclosure, obviously, in terms of what I was writing since 2008, whatever it is, obviously, it was like pretty radical stuff. But I was working in the mainstream conservative movement and everything else. So obviously, I probably have a greater tolerance for participation in the mainstream political system than most in the scene. Although I will say one thing, I got to push back on one thing. Kennedy sucked. Kennedy absolutely sucked. Kennedy was a piece of shit who pushed through the Hart-Celler Act. He wrote a book called Nation of Immigrants, ghostwritten by the ADL. He was pushing civil rights. This idea that Kennedy was some great champion of American independence, no, screw him.
Yeah, well, why'd they kill him?
He was just as bad as LBJ.
LBJ didn't get shot, though.
I mean,
LBJ said, "Go ahead, have your nuclear weapons. I don't care."
You think
Kennedy said,
it was the Israelis that did it, and it was just over that
100%.
thing? I mean, in terms
100%.
of the domestic policy, indistinguishable from what the most conspiratorial reading of what they would want is. I mean,
Well,
that's what Kennedy pushed.
This is the thing that people get caught. Like, there's a lot of binary thinking. I think people, it's either a good guy or a bad guy. Like, both things can be true at the same time. Somebody can be a real piece of shit and have the right take on something at the same time, and it also be Saturday, and and so on and so on.
Fair enough.
He did lots of, he's basically a communist, depending on who you talk to. But he's also like, I don't, that Dimona research facility is they're just building nuclear weapons, and I want them investigated. And I want this AIPAC lobby registered as a foreign agent. They're just buying politicians and doing whatever they want. We can't have that. Bang!
I mean, I guess the question has to be, why didn't they go after Eisenhower for Suez or something like that? I mean, if that's the fundamental thing. I mean, there you had the British, the French, and the Israelis, and America said no.
Well, I mean, again, I'm not an expert on exactly how all this went down, but after World War II was when a lot of the mobsters started to move into America in the 40s and 50s. Not just from Italy, from else, but the refugees and stuff from Europe, and they're already fairly well entrenched in New York and in California, the Jewish community. But it was still a flight. Like, you didn't just turn on, ta-da, I own everything. I own everybody. I own the FBI. There was kind of a whole power. I mean, that's why everybody's heard of the Italian mafia, but you don't hear about Mickey Cohen and Murder Inc. or those guys too often. They did a lot of killing and murdering too, but they're not. The Italians didn't own Hollywood and didn't. They lost the race to the top, and so I don't know. At that time in the 60s, there was a lot of infiltration and a lot of people had been bought and sold and everything by then, as compared to when Eisenhower was president. When was he president? 50s, early 50s, right?
50s.
Yeah,
52 to 60. Kennedy took over from Eisenhower.
Yeah, and he in his departing speech as president, he's like, hey, big money's money's going to take this place down, so you guys better keep on the ball. And no one did. But I mean, he was kind of he did some shady stuff himself. Also, again, like people say, well, they did this, but he also did that. He also smacked a woman one time or whatever. I don't know if that's true. Right. In any man's life, they're going to be like anything that's happening. Like, this is what they did to me, and they'll do it to anybody. Like, they'll go like, oh yeah, well, 17 years ago they did this. When they purged the Canadian military of all of our actual leaders and soldiers and generals, they were like one guy. It was one of our top guys. He mooned a woman in 1988.
That was what the Tallahook scandal was in this country in the 1980s. I don't know if you remember. I mean, that's kind of before my time, but that was the same sort of thing. They basically were like, oh, this kind of like fraternity behavior in the Navy, and they used that to kick everybody out.
Yeah, they said it was a toxic masculinity thing. And
right.
So they got rid of like a dozen senior. I mean, our military is not huge. We had more generals now than we did in World War II, even though the military is a fraction of the size. It's just a giant welfare shit pile. But anybody who would have stopped anything happening in this country, they were all dealt with. And like by 2020, by the end of 2022, they were all gone. And it was just monthly. It seemed like another general, another colonel, and they weren't just, some guy. It's just like the head of the special operations unit, the head of the counterintelligence unit, the chief of defense staff, like anybody who, had the stones and the respect and the networking and like of all the soldiers, they'd say, that's our guy. He should be the chief. Yeah. We got rid of all them. And now we have an old lady grandmother who tried to flee her post in Iraq from harassing mortar fire that nobody even noticed was happening. She freaked out and had to be restrained physically by American officers. They started selling T-shirts calling her the Iraqi Avaki. She's flying away on a flying carpet. she's now in charge of the whole military. And it's, I mean, but anyway, I'm getting off the thing, but yeah, there's a ton of, there's a lot of guys, there's a lot of information on it. And it's like who killed Kennedy? Like, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Like if I get killed, who killed me? Is like a lot of guys hate him. A lot of
You know
people
what's
hate that
funny?
guy.
If Trump had gotten shot by that guy, there'd be a ton of people saying the Jews killed Trump, even though he's
well,
right. Like you just know that's because look at Charlie Kirk.
To the side,
you know what I mean? People would be saying that regardless of whether or not it's true. I'm not saying the Jews didn't kill Kennedy. I think there's a lot of evidence there from what I've seen. But I want to go on to the next clip here because I know we could spend all day on that one. But I want to get a few different topics before we
Confirm whether the suspect's a male, female. We've heard that it's a transgender person. Is that something that you have in terms of information?
So what I can say right now that we have identified the person, the suspect, by a birth name. The birth name was Robert Dorgan. We have also learned that the person does go by the name of Roberta, also uses the last name of Esposito. But again, that will be all.
Right. So that was the transgender hockey Rhode Island hockey rink shooting.
Right.
And the guy had, I don't know if you saw his tattoo. He had like the SS skull tattoo.
There's a very interesting angle. First of all, I'm impressed that when he switched genders, he also apparently switched ethnicities. He became like a Latina or something. I don't know how that works with the last name. But when you see a guy like this, you kind of wonder if it's because you see this among certain bodybuilders, like ex-Navy SEALs sort of thing. You wonder if this guy was on trend or something like that, and that just kind of cooked his brain.
That was my
take.
Made
him go trans. Yeah. I mean, it happens often enough that it makes you. Whenever I see something like this, I'm like, I wonder.
Steroids and porn, because like I went through his following.
Well,
list.
it's not steroids in general. It's like
I went through his following list, and it was like two-thirds were like porn accounts, like just grotesque, you know. And there's something about that and people tuning out.
And he kind of went nuts with the, Epstein files and Massey and everything else. But I think that, frankly, it's all just kind of like people were trying to dunk on him. Some people were saying like, oh, look, he's with Massey. He was anti-Trump. And then somebody else was like, no, look, he was pro-Trump from whatever. And it's like, look, at that point, I don't think political beliefs like even enter
exactly.
into it. He's just cooked. And it's probably an outgrowth of certain drugs that we don't know. And I don't think it's like steroids generally. I think it's like that specifically. That is kind of what I want to know if he was on, because if he was, I'd be like, oh, well, that explains it.
Well, trenbolone was invented for like race horses and bull cows so that they could ship them across countries without feeding them and they wouldn't, waste away.
What could go wrong?
That's what it was for. And then some guy's like, give me some of that. Like, oh my God, it's not good for you. Like, I mean, I've tried some things in my day, but that one, I mean, I know some guys have done that too. It's very, very toxic. I would not recommend anyone ever try that. But to compare that to something like just testosterone is not even the same. That's like weed is drugs, so is crack cocaine. That's also drugs. Like saying the same thing. Not at all.
What are the good steroids to get on?
I wouldn't recommend all.
I would get on Deca. I would get on TRT. I'd basically get on everything except Trent. But don't go on that, no matter what.
Good to know.
Take as little as possible. If zero, you can get by with zero. That would be best.
This is health advice, everyone.
Easy to say until you hit 40. Then
I am 40. I'll have you know.
Believe me, I'm feeling it. There's a lot of gray in the beard.
That's why I shaved mine. It's getting bad, but. Yeah, TRTs. I think the average male's testosterone is down 30% from 1980. So that's at this point, I'd say go nuts, man. It's self-defense. We're not. If the average woman's hormones were out of whack by we'd all be freaking out. But it's like it's okay that men are literally disintegrating into like worm people. That's not okay, and that's a big reason why the society we're in is falling apart. We don't have strong male characters or influences anymore to say no, to say fuck you, to say we're not doing that. Like that doesn't come from we're all going to hold hands and sign a petition and we're all going to bake cookies and talk about our feelings. That's not how anything like maybe that works for in some situations, but if you have people trying to take advantage of you and hurt you and kill, like you're not fighting that off with sensitivity and cartoons and furry costumes. It's just not how the world works. I don't know what this guy looks like. I didn't see him, but you made an interesting point there about the trenbolone. So it's extremely powerful, and it will make you a sex monster. Like if you're already a sexual person in the beginning, you're never going to get enough. You're just going to be constantly at yourself. And it's not good. And with the access to free porn and everything, like you probably are going to get very confused and messed up internally sexually. Maybe you do. Owen Benjamin had a great rant about this once. He's like, all porn is gay because you're looking at dicks. You're eventually going to confuse yourself. You're getting aroused by looking at all this kind of stuff. So I'm like, maybe there's something to that. But he's maybe he's doing that. I don't know. But the SS the tattoo stuff, like in cases like this, these people are not, politically, ideologically educated, or really they know, they can tell you, who Martin Bormann was, or like they don't know any of this stuff. They don't care. What they do is that will scare people, and I want people to be scared of me because I feel weak, and I want people to give me respect and fear me. So I'm going to put this on so I can be scary, and people will be afraid. That's it. That's the end of the thought line there. That's why, and not for the exact same reasons, but that's why a lot of like bikers and stuff used to do this in the 60s and 70s. They throw swastikas on things and iron crosses and stuff. And you'd ask them like, why do you have that? And like, it just freaks people out. It's funny.
Yeah.
Like that I appreciate. I appreciate freaking out the normies. It's kind of funny to do. So
you can find pictures of Joan Jett wearing like SS stuff and Nazi Eagles and stuff when she started off. That was like a punk thing.
Yeah, punk rock.
And of course, the Hells Angels used to do it. Actually, George Lincoln Rockwell, when he was leader of the American Nazi Party, he saw that the Hells Angels and stuff like that were wearing this sorts of stuff, and he actually like wrote them a letter being like, "You want to be the motorcycle division of like my party and everything else?" And they were like, "Fuck off!" Like, no, we're just doing this to scare people.
We're just drunk. We're just drinking and hitting people.
Yeah, Sonny Barter didn't like give a shit about any of this.
Speaking of testosterone, though, did you guys see this one?
What? I said straight up.
Are you the guy that got slapped on video?
I did, but I'll slap the shit out you though.
Oh, you will?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to show you the inside of the house.
I'll make you another clip. Don't do that.
Seriously?
Don't do that.
Whoa.
All right. Come on.
I don't know if you guys could catch what was happening, but I guess like the black guy, he had been slapped on some other stream recently. And so the big guy, who I think is like a UFC guy or something,
right, yeah.
he brought it up. He's like, "Hey, aren't you that guy that got slapped?" And so the black guy started talking tough, like, "Yeah, you better not try that," kind of thing. And so he got knocked out. And
was he actually knocked out?
I don't know if he could literally knock. He got knocked down. That's for sure. I haven't seen. This is all I've seen is this little. Yeah,
I mean,
he hit pretty hard.
He looks like a heavyweight, judging by the door. He's 6 feet, 6'2", looking like he's probably 240-ish, and he just, full power elbowed you in the mouth that you should be unconscious, probably, but I don't know. These kinds of things, is this a setup? Is this a thing? Because it creates clicks, and the reason we're talking about it right now, that's the reason they do this, because it gets them attention and relevance, and they make money, But it was that guy that was in Japan doing this, and they eventually arrested him, and he's looking at like 20 years.
Yeah, Johnny Somali.
Yeah, that fucking idiot, right? I'm like, good. The Japanese are. We have already been nuked. Do not fuck around. Like they've had enough shit already. Like they don't need this.
The last election there was pretty funny. They've had like a few immigrants. I think they had a few Indians, and minimal exposure to these people. Yeah. And then the next election, like the most overwhelming right-wing victory in their entire history. They could rewrite the whole Constitution if they wanted to.
Good for them. It's a woman too that won, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
That's That's scary. For like, I'd be I would be more afraid for the other side than if it was a man, because a man will, like, a woman will. Women who want to hurt people and destroy things are unreasonable and can't be stopped. Like they're very, and you just made her president of okay. Have fun.
Yeah, this is how Japan becomes a nuclear power. She's gonna hand all the power over to the emperor or something like that, and there we go again.
Chinese are probably not fun.
Yeah, right.
Oh, not again. Yeah.
One way to solve the China problem.
Yeah, I thought everybody I showed this clip to thinks it's really funny though, because the guy gets knocked out. But I wonder about like the racial dynamics. Like if you swap the races, I don't think people on my audience would think it's as funny.
No.
And
how is this guy not arrested though? Too. I mean that would be a big thing whether it's staged or not. I mean it's not like the guy like touched them or approached them to the point where it would justify an illegal sense. I mean obviously in a honor sense, I guess, right, justified.
So this is the thing. I am big on fighting words. I'm big on like if you talk shit, you get hit kind of thing. I caught a lot of flack because I defended Will Smith for slapping Chris Rock, which I understand in a comedy show is a little bit different. I get that's a more nuanced gray area, and I get why people would not agree with it. But I'm just a big fan of like people getting slapped when they run their mouth. I like seeing it because I think too many people are too comfortable running their mouths. You know what I'm saying?
Well, people don't understand fighting. They've lived in a soft environment. They don't understand this. Like, look, so either one of these guys, this guy is in striking distance, we're in danger zone. He's close enough to hurt me, first of all. And he's saying things like he wants to, or he's going to. And he's like, you're now like a second away from me and the other guy. He could just do this at any point. So he's like, nope, and just takes him out because it's.
Well, as
like
somebody just pointed out in the chat,
like,
he did give the guy a chance. He said, really? Like he gave the guy a chance to be like, no, man, I'm just messing around or whatever. He said, really? And the guy was like, oh yeah, you don't want to mess with me or whatever.
People don't understand in real life, a referee doesn't show up and go, okay, are you both ready now? Okay, you can fight. That doesn't happen. It happens when somebody hits somebody else first. And that can be at any time. And if he's close enough to hit you, you're not safe. And if he's saying stuff like that, and the way like he's standing kind of angled off, which is if he's left-handed, why are you down there? Why are you like that? You know,
it's a good point. If you were, you'd be a good defense attorney. I think you just sold me on. And he was moving. He was moving toward him. Yeah,
with his eye out to the side like that kind of stuff. It's very it's threatening behavior. It just is right, and it's like, well, he's a UFC fighter. He should know. Well, exactly. He would know that he's in a situation where he's either going to hit me imminently, or I'm going to hit him, or I'm going to turn my back. He's going to stab me. I don't know. I don't know this guy. I mean, I don't know what the hell went on, but. As a defense attorney, I mean,
there you go. Not guilty, Your Honor. Okay, hold on. Somebody said I'm subtly calling out Austin. I want to actually address that real quick because that isn't. If you guys watch the intro clip where I'm arguing with Andrew Wilson, and Andrew Wilson is saying, hey, if you touch me, I'm shooting you. The full context, if you watch that on the show, we were talking about Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony, and somebody kind of made the point of like they were talking about like, you know, like fuck around and find out or whatever. Like if you touch me, I'm going to shoot you. And somebody said like, well, what if Austin Metcalf like shoved Carmelo Anthony? Is it okay for him to get stabbed to death then? And like the point I was trying to make in that conversation with Wilson is like, obviously not. Like anytime you use like a lethal violence, it's a wisdom call, and you have to look at all the factors and every little thing. And a huge factor in that case, putting the race stuff aside, obviously I'm like always going to be on the white guy's side, but putting that aside, he wasn't supposed to be there. So he was like trespassing. So if you're trespassing and people tell you to fuck off and you say, no, I'm not leaving, and then they shove you, you don't get to kill them because you're already in the wrong. Okay.
Right.
A shove is like a defensive move anyway. Like you don't shove someone because you're trying to hurt them. You want them to go away. In
general, you shouldn't kill someone for shoving you. In general, absolutely.
You want them away from you. It's not the same as like a full fist strike to the face. That could be an attempt. I've not seen it happen, but I'm aware you can punch a guy in the face and he goes down. He can die. I mean, it can be that quick, or that could have killed him. You never know. But a shove is like, go away, or I want to be away from you, or you need to fucking leave, or something. It's not, well, I'm going to shoot you with a gun. That's an insane escalation. Now, if you come back, if you've been shoved away and then re-engaged, well, obviously now we're fighting. This is my last. I'm shoving you away. If you come back to within my personal space, strike, then we're fighting.
Right.
That's what this means. This is like, all right, you know. And if you stay away, good. If you come back, well, it's on. It's not 9 mil time. That's crazy.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Come on, Kev. Come on.
Hey, Crocker. Hey, bitch. You know that shit you did when you convinced the the true and living God to demote themselves down into some type manhood that you can sell them to make your motherfucking existence relevant because you can't exist outside of the God's energy? You know that shit that you did, you know what I'm saying? Passing out the motherfucking condoms at school and shit. Getting involved in motherfuckers' sexual motherfucking life.
What is this? Some like Moorish guy or something like that?
Yeah, some kind of was Kangs, like black Hebrew Israelite.
fascinating. I remember one time I went on like a deep dive, like what is it that these guys actually believe, and just one shot of myself, like reading everything.
Yeah, they're the real
on this,
Jews. Yeah.
and it is remarkable. I mean, they really do believe that they are the only original people, that they could fly, that they had all these superpowers and everything else, and then white people came and just took it all away. We're also space aliens, apparently.
Yeah, they used to have
which
wings.
might be true.
Yeah.
That might be true. I think
That might be true. Yeah, I kind of think that too. So.
Hey, why do we get sunburned? That's nuts.
Yeah, there you go.
Sense. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't.
We should just lean into it. We should just lean into it. We should be like, all Father Yakub like gave us these gifts, and this is where we are.
I think we're from Mars. I think we're refugees from Mars. I think is what happened, and that's our original one. But yeah, I was like, I feel like a psychiatrist listening to this. I didn't understand a word that he said. I'm just sitting here
I
like
think he's really upset that white people.
You're angry about something.
Yeah,
you're angry.
I think he's angry that they were giving condoms to kids at school, which is very like weird and specific thing
that's what
to
it was
be
about.
That's what he says. Yeah. It's weird and it's oddly specific. I don't know.
What are those things in your teeth? What is that? Is that made out of? Is there mercury or aluminum in that?
That's called a grill, and I think they're like diamonds, but it's hard to tell.
Well,
all right. Here's a more serious one for you guys.
You've issued a stark warning to American Jews. I want to make a warning to somebody else, and that's American Gentiles. The minute your country is taken over by anti-Semitism, the minute you start to be a country that's not blessing Israel but cursing Israel, you have begun the process of shrinking away from your empire. That has happened. I don't think that that's theological. That's biological. That's the way the world operates. Every empire that turned on the Jewish people shrank back to its smallness. If it's the Germans and it's the Austrians, if it's the Dutch and the Spanish, and it's certainly a much more recent history, if it's the British, who had a giant empire, gigantic, ginormous empire. But when they turned on the Jews, within just a few years, they became the little island that they are today. Okay?
I've always wanted to do a PhD thesis tracking throughout history.
Doesn't it seem like history proves the total opposite? Like, didn't the Spanish Empire begin in 1492 with the expulsion of the Jews? Didn't the British Empire collapse after World War II, after they did all this stuff?
Fighting for the Jews.
Like, what is the evidence here? I mean, before we even get into the insanity of it, just like the basic claims being made here seem very questionable.
Well, I'm not like a history expert or anything, but I have you guys been following this sort of Nick Land, Elon Musk thing on Twitter? This guy, he's apparently with Jews you win. I don't know if you know, like Nick Land, that xenocosmology or whatever. He says with Jews you win. And then Elon replied to him like today and was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm paraphrasing. Like what he really said is like, you need to have the based Jews on your side if you want to have a right-wing movement, and you'll never win without help from the based Jews. And I don't know. Because it seems like it seems like you lose with Jews. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you presume that they have so much control and influence that you literally can't win without their permission, then yeah, I guess if that's what you're saying. But that's, again, the whole system is not, winning isn't winning. Winning is you personally do well. You get to be a politician, or you get to be a millionaire or a billionaire, maybe even not so much these days anymore. But if the winning to you is sovereignty of your own home, from your own people running your own things and making your own decisions, that's not allowed to happen ever. And they're never going to help you do that. It's in every instance. That's the opposite's been the case. They attack everybody that does that. And it's this bizarre. Well, it's part of the indoctrination. It's a superiority complex. They're racial supremacists by their own definition. This is what Zionism means. God told us, chose us, really. Of all the schizophrenic things out there to say, you could just say, even if it was just on biology or something, let's say, if like the black guys over there, they're like, well, we're just biologically superior because of fast twitch muscle fibers and this and that, blah, blah, blah. These guys are going a step further and saying, no, God actually said so. You weren't here, but he left me a DM, you can trust me, and told me that I'm supposed to be in charge and you all have to be my slaves and all that kind of stuff. Why is no one, don't listen to people that talk like that. That's bananas. That's the craziest thing anyone has ever said. There's Scientology, that's pretty whacked. And then this is worse. This is way worse because they think it gives them the authority to do whatever they want, like genocide and mass murder and terrorism and all these other kinds of things. And they act as though nothing bad has ever happened. I like, okay, well, tell me some of the bad things that Jews have done then. I've yet to ever get an answer on that. And they say, well, there's the bad Jews and then there's the good ones who just don't ever say anything and never criticize the bad ones ever. They just kind of look at their shoes and, oh, look at the time. I got to do something else now or distract you with something else. So, I mean, to say that there's nothing going on here, there's nothing. They're all just, happen to be very rich and influential and powerful wherever they are, and all seem to carry the same opinion that we're all beneath them and need to do what they say or else. But also, they're the ultimate victims and powerless, and we need to do everything we can to protect. It's bananas. I'm so sick and tired of the whole thing. I'm only like 40. I'll be 40 next month, but my whole life has been like this. It's just worse than ever. And the more they get revealed and the more horrible things that come out, the more aggressive they get with this rhetoric and mentality. Like they're doubling it down. Now, yeah, we're just going to make laws to make it illegal to talk shit about us. Oh, that'll go over really well, especially in America.
Yeah, I will say, I do think there is like a small handful of like guys who I think are all right. And what's his name? Nick Land. He pointed at Jeremy Kaufman as an example, who I do like that guy. I think he's like got a really good Twitter account and stuff. But he also like doesn't have any power. He's just like another guy with a Twitter account. Like it's like, yeah,
there's lots of those. I mean, there are those
exactly.
guys.
People like Dave Smith. Like these are like guys who are like okay guys.
They're not. I mean, they're ethnically, racially, they're Jewish, but they're not like plugged in. I get there's a couple of fans of mine who are they have like usernames that are like Jewish bigot and these kinds of things. The guy works at like a mechanic. His hands are half destroyed, working all day. Like he's not going to synagogues and any of that. Like he just doesn't. Yeah. It's not part of his life. There was a guy in my unit who passed away a little years ago, who was half Jewish recorded or something like that. But like he was overseas too. I mean, they were trying to kill him just like the rest of us, and there was no payday for they're out there. And I don't think anyone means them. Like no one was saying, the Jews did it. I'm not attacking this guy who's just a dude trying to get by in the world like everybody else. But then that does not also mean that there's not, this mafia. We mentioned the mafia earlier. I'd say like, if I was in the FBI in 1980 and I was like, look, the Italians have got to be stopped. The Italians are out of control. The Italians have infiltrated the FBI. The Italians are trying to take the White House. And then to shut me down, they go, are you trying to say that Raphael at the pizza shop is involved in some kind of conspiracy? Like, obviously not. I'm sure he's a very nice guy and makes a great pizza. However, that doesn't mean the Italian mafia does not exist and is not a threat and is not very powerful and influential. Both things can be true at the same time. And it's the same with this, but that's why they don't let anyone talk. They just say soundbite, platitude, non sequitur, move on. That doesn't work. Throw them in jail, debank them. I don't know. It's all just, they can't win, so they have to cheat.
History, the meccas of Jewish diaspora, and then the precipitous downfall immediately following them turning against
the Jews are a channel for blessing in your nation. Okay.
The Jews are a channel for blessing in your... Okay, just so you know.
Ow. In Brooklyn, a teacher at a Jewish school for boys has been arrested on charges that he allegedly abused 3 teenagers. CBS 2's John Slattery reports from Williamsburg.
I wasn't supposed to be there. Okay. Okay.
I mean, again,
go ahead.
It seems like an obvious point, but like, why? You notice, like, not a single example was given there. I mean, not to just keep going back.
Well, no, they did. They said England. They said
yeah,
the British Empire.
And it was like totally wrong. It was
It was wrong.
I mean, like, you would think that, like, but there was no time periods given. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't like, like, look at the Dutch Empire in these years. Like, what?
Because there's like multiple expulsions from England. So yeah, it's like, which one are we even talking about?
Yeah. And I would just respond like, well, every time you go against the Jews and you go, I don't believe in magic though. So how else do you explain this? Magical powers aside, what else you got? Anything? Or just, is this, you're entirely leaning on this magic fairy tale story of magic red cows and a special ramp they have to die on. And my real estate agent, Yahweh, said I have to live here for the world to make sense. And but I don't believe in any of that. That's all nonsense to me. So what else you got?
What do you think?
I have to believe in your cult or else I'm a criminal. This is bananas. This is insane.
What do you think about, and I'm saying this as somebody who grew up in the Northeast and was raised Catholic and everything else, and obviously, not a Christian now, but if you think of the conservative base in the United States, obviously it's very heavily evangelical Protestant. And while this is a generational thing, obviously a lot of the evangelicals are very attached to Israel. They see it as the fulfillment of prophecy, and you can understand why they would want to believe that and, why it strengthens their faith and everything else. But I think that a lot of it is this kind of substitute nationalism. I saw this in the conservative movement all the time, where they would see the Israelis, bombing whatever group or whatever else, and they would say, yeah, this is awesome and everything else. And it was almost like, we wish we could do that for ourselves, but we can't. We're not allowed. And we can't articulate a reason why we should be allowed to do that. But it's okay when they do it because they have a special license. And I've just never, and maybe it's just because I was raised fundamentally differently and obviously believe fundamentally different things, but I think you can say that these people have this cult or these people believe they're chosen by God or whatever else, and that's insane. And I'd say, okay, yeah, maybe it is. But what's even more insane to me is to say, and we need to believe in their God too, and also that they are chosen by their God. And so therefore we are naturally in a subordinate position. It's like being a spiritual Uncle Tom or something like this. Yeah. And I don't want to whatever, because again, so maybe I'm too old, maybe I'm too moderate, maybe I'm too Republican friendly or whatever else. At the end of the day, most of the people you kind of deal with in the normie conservative movement are evangelical Protestants, and I generally like them as people. But I've just never understood this. How do you not see this? How do you not understand that you're basically a spiritual prisoner? Why not just reject all this? It doesn't make any sense. And it's not your tradition. It's not your tradition. It's not your God. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It kind of makes sense to me, because I think I used to be one of these people. I think a lot of people are. If you're just raised in a normal, not really, I wasn't in a political household, religious, anything like that. It was, pretty chill. And so my information about all of this was minimal. Except for media programming, movies, video games, all this other kind of stuff. So there's a quote I've been thinking about a lot lately. It's I think a Greek guy, Thucydides. I can't the fucking name. I can't remember. But, yes, but it's self-control is the chief element in self-respect, and self-respect is the chief element in courage. And we don't have a lot of self-respect anymore. We have no control over ourselves. We don't even know who we are. We don't have any identity a lot of times. Right. And so when I was younger, even just if someone said the word Jews, there's a little bit of are we allowed to talk about this?
Yeah. That was a scary word.
And this is when I first recognized I'm brainwashed. Mm-hmm. Why am I having feelings, physical reactions to things I don't know anything about and have nowhere none of my family is? I don't know anybody that's ever been involved. So why am I reacting this way? And it's human nature they'll tell you, oh, I like the ideas and I really like the platform, but I like that. Shut up. You don't know anything. You like the person, you follow the man, or you follow strength. And they know. And that's why you'll see people well, I'm not going to say that, or I'd have you on, but then you're afraid of the power that exists. Intrinsically, instinctively, that exists. And if you cross that, it's going to come get you. So you're not following them and saying, oh, I agree with it. It has nothing to do with that. If they were completely powerless and had no influence whatsoever and were the size of Portugal, you wouldn't care. But because there is so much power socially, economically, government and otherwise, all of a sudden, oh, yes, I absolutely. I would say all the time, if Benito Mussolini rose from the grave tomorrow and just took over Canada, just like that, and you woke up and turned it on, and El Duce's running the country, half of these people would be like, oh, I always liked Mussolini. Oh yeah, me too. I was always his big fan. I've always liked him. They don't think anything. They don't know anything. They're just following whoever they think the strongest character is, because as being weak people, they attach themselves to that thing in hopes that it will carry them to safety or prosperity or whatever. So I think that's a big part of what's going on here. That and American Zionism.
The Holocaust conditioning is so intense with all the movies in there that we all got growing up.
It's still going on. It's a religion.
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously the thing that the new religion, Christianity, is no longer the religion of the West. It's sort of this religion of suffering and egalitarianism that fundamentally comes out of Auschwitz or something like that. I guess the bigger question, and this goes to something which is sort of a divide in the right now, is now when you see, like on a college campus, saying I am pro-Israel on a college campus, you might have the Trump administration backing you, you might have certain powerful forces backing you, but it's an unpopular position. And I think that is because whatever we may say about it, non-whites view Israel as a white settler imperialist colonialist state.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of this, well, obviously this isn't true and they're not this and everything else. And obviously we would agree, but fundamentally, this is how it is being interpreted now. And I wonder whether that's going to, if they are going to turn against the sort of monster that they have created, or just sort of try to maintain the double standard for as long as they can get away with it. Because they used to, what is the thing people usually say about like the ADL say? Basically nationalism for me, multiracialism and egalitarianism for thee. That is the usual criticism. And they've still been trying to uphold this, but nobody buys this double standard anymore. 10 years ago, people would buy it. Now they don't. And you wonder if at some point they're just going to shift gears, because what I wonder is, well, would they just shift to being consistent egalitarians? Would they just to actually, we need a one-state solution in Israel where it's no longer defined as a purely Jewish state? This is what I think American Jewish organizations might pivot to. And then those are going to try to say, no, actually, we're totally consistent here, because what we're really interested is pushing mass immigration and egalitarianism and all these sorts of things in America. I mean, one of the biggest things that people have talked about for a long time is, if you look at the younger generations of American Jews, you do have this change of opinion when it comes to Israel. It's not enough that it has a real political impact yet, but I wonder if in 20 years from now, you're going to see it where Israelis, assuming they're still around, and American Jews or the Jewish diaspora more broadly are going to see themselves basically as unrelated peoples.
I think it's going to take less than 20 years. I want to really
Do
quickly.
you see that happening, or am I just totally off base there?
Dude, absolutely. I think so. I think like the huge
Israel
crack
is like
in the
kind of
dam is
Civil
already
War
there.
itself.
That's a good point. I mean, the divides there are a lot stronger than a lot of people know. I mean, you look at the ultra-Orthodox there. I mean, they have this kind of, they're basically just like welfare leeches on the whole system. And I think a lot of secular Israelis are pretty mad at them about that.
Yeah, that Tyler guy doing those, he's like been exposing that. It's really awesome because they're so mad. They're like so happy to talk about Somali fraud, but as soon as you start talking about Jewish fraud, he got banned from Patreon. Just like I saw that they took his Patreon away because he's talking about Jewish welfare fraud. I do want to really briefly, as a Christian, I want to just kind of give a little bit of my perspective on some of the stuff that's been said here, because you have to understand, religious people think totally different from secular people. Like, the religious perspective is like, God is real, and what he's like, so I believe he's real, and I believe like this is like the Bible is his word and stuff like that. So like earlier, Jeremy, when you were saying like it's crazy for like God like to think like God said we're special people or whatever. For me, God can say whatever he wants because he's, you know what I mean? But he didn't say that. Like, that's an incorrect interpretation. The dispensationalist thing is like an incorrect. So it's not that it would be crazy for God to do that.
Like, basically what I meant to say was like, I can't imagine a universe where a God would say something like that. That's crazy to me. I don't believe that.
That's totally fair. But like, again, like if you believe God is real, like you can believe like he could do like say crazy things. He told Job, I think it was, to like cut his kid in half or whatever, and Job was like going to do it, which like seems insane. But
wasn't that Abraham and Isaac?
Is it? Sorry. Yeah, I think you're. Yeah, I messed that up.
Job was the guy who had his whole life
right
again and again just to make a point.
Yeah, that's
just torture the guy to make a point.
Right. And then when he protested to God, God said, "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth?"
Yeah. So if you believe God is real, you would believe that he could basically do whatever he wants, because it would be kind of silly to argue with him about stuff.
Right.
But having said that, like that whole interpretation of like the dispensationalists and we have to like support the nation state of Israel, like that's just all wrong as far as that's like a total misreading of the Bible. So I just want to put that out there. I don't want to like debate theology.
No, certainly not. But I mean, is it fair to
say
say that you're a supersessionalist then?
Yeah.
In terms of
Okay.
I wouldn't say I'm secular necessarily. Like I'm a spiritual guy for sure. I just don't I don't have the confidence to just commit to anything that, you know, other men have written down and decided when I wasn't there, because I've seen too much. I've seen too much lying and bullshit and, you know, grit and face. So I feel like I'd rather just go on my own instincts. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Then I don't have anybody to blame but myself. Whether it's I'm just going to copy paste or whatever this says here, I'm doing that. Well, that feels like I'm not taking responsibility. I'm just, you know, letting someone else decide for me and being lazy. And again, I don't think if God did that, I don't know why he would be ambiguous about it. I think if God wanted everyone in the world to know, like, listen, these people are in charge, it would just happen. We would all be frozen in place and be like, all right, assholes, these people are, you know, why? No, I'm going to hide it through some parables, through some guys, and slowly over time. Why? All of this feels like human grifty, steely, manipulaty kind of shit, and not a lot of like God power to me. I mean, there's lots of evidence in like not verbal ways, I think, that speak to the existence of an extremely powerful, you know, force of some kind that has created everything, and this is all exists and doesn't exist at its whims, like just the design of the universe and just the mathematical impossibilities of so many things suggest something very smart put this all together, but then left it up to like some old dusty books that only these people can read. And I'm not buying it, man. I feel like, why would you create all these people? Why? Just we were there to be their slaves. This is ridiculous. This sounds like some guy trying to grift and make money. And, you know.
No, I get it.
Well,
I get it.
I mean,
but Kevin, you mentioned you had that comment too about it's not your traditions or your God. And I assume you meant that like Christianity
I
is
want to
not
make just one quick point. And this is actually meant to be somewhat of a defense of Christianity and Orthodox religious belief. I mean, we are not meant to understand. I realize this can be self-serving, and this does not necessarily contradict the idea that it was created by men for their own gain, but there's no reason to expect God to be understood on our terms. I mean, imagine a dog trying to understand a human consciousness. It just wouldn't work. There's not, if there is a God, especially a single God, especially an all-powerful God who's the Alpha and the Omega, there's no way one can comprehend him and his plan on purely human terms. I mean, this is why I find the Book of Job compelling. This is why I find so much of the Christian tradition compelling, even if I don't necessarily buy it. I think that one of the things, and, you know, with apologies to people who are evangelical Protestants, just so people understand my position, one of the companies that I worked for quite a while was WorldNet Daily. And if you're familiar with them, I mean, this is one of the earliest conservative websites out there, but also clearly one of the most pro-Zionist publications out there. And there were a number of books and publications that basically made the point, you know, supersessionalism is the worst thing ever. Israel is the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Actually, the true form of Christianity isn't even really what we call Christianity, but essentially Messianic Judaism. And, you know, was reading all this kind of stuff. And really, for all intents and purposes, I was more or less persuaded. And of course, the consequence of that was probably the opposite of what they intended, which is, okay, well, if this is true, then this really just has nothing to do with me. And as far as Roman Catholicism goes, again, I mean, there's a great deal to be valued in that tradition, but I just think post-Vatican II, like, what are we doing here? I mean, well, you know, Pope Innocent III said whatever. It's like, okay, but they kind of got rid of all that. So what are we doing here?
Yeah, no, I agree, and you don't have to apologize to evangelicals here. We don't.
I mean, look.
Them.
Fundamentally, I'm concerned with race, not religion, and I have my own thing.
Are you like a pagan, or are you just an atheist?
Yeah, no, I'm a pagan.
Okay.
I mean, I did a thing with my buddy Paul Wagner on this maybe a week or two ago. He posted it on his thing, and I reposted it and stuff, and we talked about it.
That's where I've seen you from.
Yeah, I think I had that sweater on too.
Okay, yeah. I think I just watched that exact video you're talking about like a couple weeks ago.
Now you say that, it is kind of like a druid
thing,
hoodie.
obviously, I'm like,
you do kind of have like a druid hoodie look going on a little bit.
It is what I think. So
well, that's cool. Okay, we're like
I-
almost out of time because we have to do super chats too. This is like a record for the least number of clips that we got through, but that's okay. I do want to show you guys like one or two more. This one is older, but I didn't think it was real, but it is real. Okay, so just check this out.
From CSA, right? That's from that movie CSA.
I was trying to figure it out because
that's from the movie CSA. CSA
what is that?
This kind of like it's a kind of an old history movie where basically the Confederacy wins, and more than that, they don't just win their independence, but they basically take over the North and basically implement slavery in the entire country.
No, but this is a real restaurant. This really existed. I looked at
no, they did. It does. And they have these kind of fake commercials, but the fake commercials are all based on real places that existed.
Okay, I was trying to figure that out because this restaurant like shut down in the 50s. Right, and so the commercial's too modern. I was trying to figure that out. Thank you, because this was posted
something like Spike
This
Lee
was posted on YouTube like 17 years ago. So I was like, okay, it's not AI.
It's an old movie.
Yeah,
it's an old movie. It's an interesting movie. I think Spike Lee might have been a producer or had a producer credit or something like that. And of course, the point of the movie, to show how clever they are and everything else, is basically to be like, well, actually, don't you see, like America actually is just as evil as the CSA, and actually, like the Confederacy did win the Civil War because don't you see how racist we all are? And that's kind of where they're going with the whole thing.
Yeah, so racist. You have a black president, Supreme Court justices, and all these other things.
Yeah, I mean the point of that movie too, of course, because it lays out this whole alternate history, which is very different from our world. So I'm not quite sure what they were trying to.
I've always had the thought, like, if I had the money, and hey, you get these AI products now, somebody could make. It's getting crazy. I feel like Hollywood's not going to exist in 2 years. I mean, you can just type in some prompts and it'll fire up a movie. Someone should make. If you wanted to make an ass load of money, somebody make that alternative history movie. World War II goes a different way, and what it would look like, and you just make them you just make it as pro as possible, and just to demonstrate what could have existed and what could. It's like a paradise, you know.
Don't you think they've kind of done that with every single movie? Like even the movies where it's obviously the worst thing ever, you know, the Wolfenstein video games, Man in the High Castle, this kind of thing. You ever notice that with all these movies, it's always like this super futuristic world where they have like
nicer.
Moon colonies and all these like amazing buildings and everything else, and they show you this and it's like, and that's why it's evil. And it's like, oh.
Basically just Man in the High Castle, but without like the creepy music.
Right.
To tell you that it's
like,
bad.
They have to throw in something that's like so over the top where you see like this nice society and everybody's good, but then you see the ashes falling down. It's like they burn the cripples on Tuesdays, and it's like, all right, like come on.
I always just thought, like, just from an artistic standpoint, and just because it's never been done, and it's, I mean, they were people, they were human beings. They weren't like, even as a little kid, I was fascinated by the whole thing, just because I was drawn in by war immediately. It's like, this is the craziest thing that's ever happened, obviously. And you never hear their side of it. You never see their side. It's like, oh, they're all crazy on meth, and they just. But do that movie. Just why not? And just from their POV, nobody gets out of bed every day. He's like, I can't wait to do evil shit today. I can't. It's not what happens. You know, imagine growing up in the 20s and 30s over there, and everybody's killing themselves and starving to death, and then some of these guys are just grabbing people, and it's like, it's not over. We're going for it. I mean, it's a crazy. It's on its face. It's an insane story. And then what happened after, and the destruction of the country, and everybody's getting raped to death, and it's just, my God, like that story has never been told properly, that in the way that it could be. One
might even call it the greatest story never told.
But you know what I mean?
Into that one.
Yeah, without even making it like one way or the other, trying to make it political, just as on a human story. Like you could just tell the whole story from a 36-year-old sergeant who just grew up afterward, like his father was killed in World War I, and and this is just how it is now. Just to see what that is, like that's never been done, and no one would ever do. Even just suggesting this now, I'm going to get an article written about this. That someone tried to make that movie. We've done it about everybody else. What, like they're not people? Like in 200 years, who's going to care? That movie will exist, obviously, but it's we grew up to like, don't dehumanize people. That's how, like, unless it's them, unless it's the Germans, then yeah, they're not human beings, and that's just don't even look there ever, despite it being. I mean, I cannot imagine. I think some of the war. Again, I've read lots of memoirs and stuff. war books, but I think it's called Forgotten Soldier by Guy Saget. He's like an Alsace-Lorraine German French guy, like kind of a half and half dude. And he was on the Eastern Front and all the way back, and he survived. And it's the most brutal, it's horrifying, depressing, heartbreaking you've ever read in your life. And I can't even, like, my mind broke reading it, you know? But yeah, we just hear stories about piles of shoes. It's like, there's a lot more went on than that. And true things. Also,
yeah, I feel like once the AI stuff really starts hitting, there's gonna be like a new job for people to just sort of aggregate content and be like, here's what you should watch. Like I guess critics are gonna become like more important because there's gonna be so much stuff. You're gonna need people to tell you what's even worth watching. But we are getting low on time. I want to go through one more clip here. I really wanted to hear what Kevin had to say about this one, and then we'll get to the super chats. But this was a guy in who's this? Jeremy Carl.
Yeah, Jeremy Carl.
Right. He is being asked about why he's worried about white culture being replaced.
Yeah, I saw
and
this, right.
there was like a Bronze Age pervert tweet about this. I saw how, you know,
he criticized his approach here.
Right. People don't know how to talk about these issues. It's kind of reminiscent of like Libs of TikTok getting asked to define woke, and people go on, they talk about all this stuff, and then when they get pressed on it, they don't actually really know. I didn't think he actually did that bad, but we'll watch the clip, and then I want to hear your thoughts on it, Kevin.
How you define white identity and what you think is being erased about white identity.
Certain types of Anglo derived culture that comes from our history.
There's, like what?
Let me think about this. You know, Senator, I would say if you were to look at the book by one of your former Senate colleagues, Born Fighting, about the sort of Scotch-Irish military culture and certain, you know, pride that went with that, that would be one example. Obviously, you could have sub-elements of that culture. You could have Italians, you could have Irish, and those are in many ways more.
But you're worried about white culture. You're not worried about, you're now retreating to ethnic identity. You don't speak about ethnic identity. You speak about white identity. So tell me the values that stitch together white identity and that make it different than black identity.
I would say that the white church is very different than the black church in terms of its tone and style on average. Foodways could often be different.
And those
music could be different.
And those are being erased.
Music could be different. Well, if you look at the Super Bowl halftime show, which was not in English this year.
So our ability to access white churches or white food or white music is being erased?
I am concerned with the majority common American culture that we had for some time that through particularly mass immigration, I think has become much more balkanized, and I think that weakens us. And again, I'm not running away from that comment. I'm not apologizing for it.
Well, I'm way over my time. I think you're struggling to answer this question, right? Because underlying your beliefs is a sentiment that white culture is just simply better.
Land back is.
Okay. You want me to comment on that?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Now, Jeremy Carl, just for people who don't know, wrote a book called The Unprotected Class, which is about anti-white discrimination in government policies. So when people are talking about, well, what is this guy's background? He's not talking about white culture being endangered in just purely a cultural sense. He's talking about official state actions that have gone after whites. It should be noted that if he doesn't get this position, he was appointed to a position at the State Department, but Republicans have the majority, of course. There is one Republican from Utah, of course. You know, these red state Republicans are often the worst, who won't vote for him. And the reason that this guy won't vote for him is on the grounds that he is supposedly not sufficiently pro-Israel enough. And it was implicitly suggested that he might be an anti-Semitic. It should be noted that Jeremy Carl is ethnically Jewish, though a converted Christian. So I think this idea that he is like somehow anti-Jewish or something should just be thrown out entirely. But one of the things that I think, obviously, it's very difficult when somebody is in a Senate hearing, because if one were to honestly answer these sorts of things, I mean, think of his objective here. His objective is basically to get through the hearing in one piece. So he's not trying to necessarily take a confrontational approach with this stuff. And maybe that didn't serve him the best there. Though I don't think it was just like a catastrophe, as many are suggesting. But I would say this, the obvious answer to what that senator said, what do you mean by white culture? The home run would have been, Well, the Smithsonian, which is funded by tax dollars, actually put out a statement defining this as white culture, being on time, the Protestant work ethic, respect, the Christianity, the respect for the nuclear family. These are the things that the Smithsonian defined as white culture and said they were problematic. Do you support that, Senator? After all, you're funding it. That would have been the answer to give right there, because what we're talking about is not white culture in some academic sense or whatever else. We're talking about the government pathologizing whites as whites, and this being state action, something that is being done by power. That's what the focus needs to be on. But I understand he was in a difficult position, and so I don't want to, dunk on him.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, white churches are different than black churches.
Oh yeah, I mean, what he was saying was
those aren't the worst answers.
Just...
And also, him saying the Super Bowl was not in English. The guy kind of scoffs oh, so you can't find English songs? And it's well, it's not exactly really a question of can I find it on the internet? It's is this what is being celebrated in these cultural touchstone events of my nation? It's it's very disingenuous to be oh, what's wrong? You can't find an English song to listen to on Spotify or whatever.
Right. And also this game, and this is something which needs to be pointed out too, where they do this game where it's and AOC said this, by the way, in her response to JD Vance's speech in Munich, which was excellent. Not JD Vance, Marco Rubio's speech in Munich, which was excellent, by the way. And she said oh, well, it's okay to be German. That means something. These ethnic identities mean something, but white identity doesn't mean anything. It's excuse me, every time these sort of national identities are used to justify a political policy, oh, I as a British person do not want more immigration coming to the UK. Then they start playing the game, well, what is it to be British? After all, you're just the Celts and then the Romans and then the Danes and everybody else. There's no such thing as a British person. So they always play these games of moving the goalposts. So we shouldn't be confused that well, maybe we should abandon white identity and we can retreat to these ethnic identities. They're not going to let you have those either.
Yeah. So is that guy a base Jew?
Well, it depends how you define it. I mean, a lot of people would say that once he became a Christian.
Yeah.
I mean, what is and I'm not trying to be clever here. I'm saying this as a thing, because ultimately the question would be, I guess, up to Jews, not me. But you can be an atheist. You can be a Jew.
Mm-hmm.
You can be a communist. You can be a Jew. You can be a capitalist. You can be a Jew. Milton Friedman was a Jew. You can be a conservative. You can be a liberal. You can be all these things.
You can't be
one
Christian.
thing you cannot be is a Christian.
Yeah, they don't give right of return to Christians, right? They it's
well, I mean, if you want, and this isn't up to me, but this would be an interesting topic. Are Messianic Jews Jews? There's a lot of division over that.
I actually believe
they believe in Yeshua, right?
This is highly debated, and for people who only care about race, they're not going to agree. But I actually do believe that if a Jew becomes sincerely Christian, that they're not a Jew anymore. I do believe. I just think it's exceedingly rare, and the majority of Jews who call themselves Christians probably don't qualify. But I actually do believe that personally.
Well, and I would say this, though, certainly one does not lose one's ethnic identity.
Yeah, your biology doesn't change or anything, of course.
But my point here is actually to defend Mr. Carl, because the reason he may not get this position is because this useless, cowardly Republican is saying, oh, he's actually implicitly anti-Semitic, even though he's an ethnic Jew, which tells you a lot about where the Republican Party is right now.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add, Jeremy?
Yeah, I just it's one of those things we never get brought up talking about as kids. I mean, I was born in '86, so especially in Canada, the whole race thing was never even really talked about until really recently.
Yeah, right.
A lot of that might be my fault. Some of you guys but when it really clicked, when I was okay, I'm in, was when I saw the science. Not just people talking about shit they would say, race is just skin deep. It's just a skin. It's well, actually, that's the thing that's the least different from one race to the next is your skin color, and your hair is a brain tube patterning, emotional regulation, how you think are different depending on what, biological race of human you belong to. So, you said Christianity is white. If Islam had gone through Europe instead, and Christianity had gone through the Middle East, let's say they switch places, Islam now would look a lot more like Christianity does, and Christianity would look a lot more like Islam because of it's an inward expression of the biological spirit of the people who are practicing it. So it's like, that dog, is it a golden retriever? It's like, well, let's check the DNA and we'll tell you. That's why it's acting like a golden retriever or whatever. So it's like, oh, black churches are different than white churches. Yes, because black people are different than white people. White people are different than Japanese people, and so on. That's why Japan looks like Japan and Tokyo looks like Tokyo, and it doesn't look like Paris. It doesn't look like Berlin. It doesn't look like Rome. It looks like Japan. And that's why, India looks like India, because it's full of Indians and so on. It's just, you can get mad at me if you want, but I just live here like everybody else. I didn't build the, like Terminator. I didn't build the fucking thing. I didn't me. This is obviously how it works. And, people were talking about, arguing in the chat, race is, more important to me than, God, this or that. But if God made people, and there are different races of people, and your family is the race of people that you're in, and it's under attack, which it is, and you feel compelled to defend, like my children are white, so is their mom, so is everybody, nearly everyone that I've grown up with and known and loved my whole life, and they're under attack. I feel like God would understand, and I would want to defend them from being harmed and being persecuted and so on. I think God is pro-life and pro-creation and pro, benevolence and pro, that's just, to a degree. Nature's pretty violent and brutal. Also, all things kind of have a purpose and a, beginning and an end and so on. But the enemy forces, they're all the pro-death. Everything's ruin, cancel, destroy, murder, bury, erase, retroactively change. All of just the whole life force of it is the opposite of one. And, on this side, whether it's the Christian people or the pagan people, even if they are atheistic, spiritually, they're on the other side. They're not trying to do this. They're not trying to cancel, destroy, burn down, maybe enemy, mechanisms and elements that are, harming us. But we want to build things, create things, like these paradises and, space hotels and these things that, these we were talking about earlier. Wouldn't that be great? What's under the pyramids, by the way? There's a massive complex. Why aren't we digging that up? Why aren't we doing any of the, because we're busy with nonsense, desert cult, crazy shit, killing people and, worshiping, fairy tales. And like, this is, that's not what we want to do, but that's what we're being forced to do. And the people doing it saying, well, we have to because God told me in a DM that I can't show you. It's private group chats encrypted. And,
No, I get it. I get it. Also, just on the topic of like what you were saying about like anti-white discrimination, there was a funny clip. We didn't get to it, but I don't know if you guys saw it. It was like Don Lemon and Sam Harris arguing, and Sam Harris was trying to explain to Don Lemon about how white people have been discriminated. We were going to get to that one later, but it was kind of funny. But I want to get to the super chat, so then I want to let you guys go. All right, first one is from These Bitches Want Nikes. He said John Davidson represented us at the BAFTAs. Love y'all. So that's a reference to the Tourette syndrome guy who yelled out the N-word when the two black guys were on.
Jamie Foxx is still crying about that, I hear.
Yeah. I'm something
There was
of a
really interesting thread from one of these liberals talking about this. Again, showed more self-awareness than you usually see from these people, where she was basically saying that nobody actually believes that mental disabilities prevent you from acting in a way that you find morally acceptable. So liberals are willing to make excuses for violent criminals on the grounds of mental illness, but they're not willing to make an excuse for somebody shouting out a naughty word on out of mental illness, because they think shouting out the naughty word is actually worse.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. That's correct. Yeah.
I give her credit for saying that.
You know what's interesting is one of the most famous Tourette syndrome people is like that Sweet Anita Twitch streamer, and a lot of people have pointed out that like she stopped saying the N-word like 4 years, like after Black Lives Matter happened. That tick went away, which a lot of people think is awfully interesting. Yeah. But who knows? Okay. Xfield Marshall says YouTube is broken. Can't even post a super chat. That was on Rumble. Yeah, we didn't get any YouTube super chats today. It's just broken for whatever reason. Okay. Cocaine Rim Job says Shabbat.
It's one of mine. Sorry.
I'm married now. I can't be doing that kind of thing.
He's torturing Tom. tortured Tom Sewell on my buddy Alex's stream last night too. He's a terrorist. He's a horrible human being, but by all means.
When did you get married, Kevin? Was that recent or?
No, like 7 years ago.
Oh, okay. Shabbat Shalom, from Jordan to the Atlantic, Israel shall be gigantic. Feasts on a bag of fresh foreskins. No.
Oh, don't encourage him.
And cocaine rim job again. These are $1 super chats.
Yeah.
By the way, I shouldn't
Thank you
even
for
read
pointing
them.
that out.
We're getting our money's worth from
Yeah.
Make sure you mention that every time.
He says foreskins are the Jewish trick to putting bacon slices on pizza. Okay, that's wrong. That's wrong. Book Track Grooves says he says Romans 11:7-10. Kevin is a good to read book of Romans. MacKenzie, would you like to go back to Kings? So I think he means like monarchy.
Romans 11. He wants me to read Romans 11:7-10. I mean, I'll do it.
Yeah,
So,
that's what he wants.
All right, I'll do it.
And he wants to know if Jeremy is a monarchist.
In a sense, I mean, I like this is like right now, no, like they're all scum. But as a system, it was a much more natural way to do things that we, that's kind of how we still operate. People think we don't, but that's in Canada especially. It always comes up this way, and with America too. Like we got to get a new president. They treat them like they're the king. Like, oh, we got to get him out, or they all focus on one guy like he's the problem if we get a new guy. That's how it used to be, but that's not how it is now. And we don't have noblemen and nobility. We have house members and representatives, and this kind of thing. So it's like a cheap kind of copy paste over what we used to have as a system. But the monarch, the kings and queens, all the queens not so much. The king, you're right in the front. If you're going to war, it's your war. You're right there, and everybody's following you. You don't sign some shit and send people off to Iraq 10,000 miles away to go get killed, and you hide here and make $1 billion from Lockheed Martin. That's not a king. That's a criminal. That's a piece of shit. And the currency used to be honor. That was a big part of our society. That's why anybody was who they were, was because, well, look what they did, or have you heard about this, or did you see this statue, or they did it, or they'd have like the Roman triumphs and stuff. It's like because you defeated the invaders, and Hannibal's been defeated and we're saved, and that's why he has a fucking statue, not because he made all this money on Wall Street ripping people off for pharmaceutical prescriptions and now he's a House senator or something. So under that system, I much prefer that, and then if the king goes crazy, he's out of his mind, and the nobles are like, yeah, we just got to kill this guy. And then once he's dead, we'll select a new one amongst ourselves or something. But it's a similar kind of way. And I grew up thinking it was like basically a dictatorship. God said you're the king, so he is, and his son is, and that's that. It wasn't that simplistic, but we've got kind of a modified bullshit, kosher knockoff version now, where there's no accountability for anyone. Nobody's ever held accountable. No one's at fault for anything, and they just cycle the deck chairs around every few years to keep people. It's like a fresh coat of paint, and then we just do it all over again. Whereas, other countries, Russia's still doing this. I mean, is Putin not the king of Russia? He has been for 20 some years. Of course he is. Every human society has a leader, a guy who's in charge. Yeah. What do you want to call it? Call it whatever you want, but. Right, the president of the United States is not the top guy running America, but if you go far enough, his name probably ends with Rothschild, but somebody's the top guy. So all we did was trade honesty for dishonesty. We traded honor for money, and now we've got this. Now we've got twerking. So is that to answer your question? I don't know.
That's a good answer. The lack of accountability is the biggest problem with democracy. I mean,
yeah.
Well, did you guys have you guys watched that new Game of Thrones show, The Night of the?
No. I heard it was good though.
It is pretty good. Yeah, there was an interesting tweet I saw about honor and how George R.R. Martin doesn't understand honor culture, because there's this character who's kind of like a real asshole, but then he pulls up and he's like, no, I'm going to help you because it's the right thing to do, but then it ends up being like a double cross. And the guy was pointing out like, oh, this was like a missed opportunity because the currency of his honor would have been worth more than what he sold out for, basically. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of speaks to what you were saying, how like in a culture where your honor actually has value, right?
That's the
That will actually force you to worry about like stuff like that. And it just feels like
and
in this,
forces
I don't know
people
if
to
it's the
chase them.
multiculturalism that makes everybody just not give a shit, but it feels like all the politicians are just there to like enrich themselves, and there's no sense of duty. There's no real sense of legacy. I think Trump a little bit like does care about his legacy. At least he pretends to, but like, what is it that makes everybody just be
partially in
so
the system.
selfish?
I mean, I know people dunk on him all the time, but I mean, it's essentially Curtis Yarvin talks about this. I mean, essentially, and it's just inherent to democracy. You don't have a stake in it. Really, if you want to get into Yarvin or whatever else, think of it in terms of the managerial state, like what James Burnham and Sam Francis talked about. Basically, you have people who are running the system who don't have a stake in the system. If you're a king, say, what are you doing? You're running this for 20 years. You have a stake in it because if you screw up, as you pointed out, you could get killed. You could have a rebellion. Ideally, you want to pass it on to your son. You have an interest in the long-term stability of the realm, making it more prosperous, handing off something even better. This is generally right. This is generally right. This is generally how parents think about wanting to pass on a legacy to their kids, right?
Yeah.
Whereas now, if you are in office, you know, I could have whatever political ideals I want. But if I'm elected to the House of Representatives, say, my immediate objective is to spend as much money as possible giving it to my constituents so I can stay in office, even if that bankrupts the country, even if these programs are wasteful.
And do insider trading to make yourself rich.
Right, because I'm only there for a little while. And I don't really have a stake in the long-term survival of the system. And here's the key. I don't really have enough power to be accountable for anything. The only guy in our system who actually has the ability to take a perspective of the whole thing as a whole is basically the president. It's President Trump right now. And of course, who's getting in the way? It's Congress. It's these random courts, because apparently any random district judge can like dictate immigration policy or tariffs or whatever else, even though this is clearly not what the framers intended. But we have a real problem because the only way you can have a strategy for carrying out any kind of a large enterprise is you need to have unity of command. I mean, that's like the one thing anybody says in the military, right? You need unity of command. You have to have somebody you know is in charge, you know they're accountable, you know what the plan is. And a good plan violently executed is better than a great plan, which is never executed at all. And right now we have a system where we have a million different people. Nobody is accountable. Nobody has responsibility, and nobody has a stake in the system surviving long term. And that's why we're in the position we're in. I think you could argue like, well, it's blackmail, it's Epstein, it's this, that, and the other thing. It's a million things. And all of that is true to some extent. But partially, but part of it is just the system is screwed up and nobody has an incentive to do the right thing, because you don't need a nefarious explanation to explain why, if you do the right thing in terms of putting forward wise policies, you're not going to win re-election.
Right. Yeah.
Well, people are incentive driven. You know, they do it because there's something in it for them. And if it's like, look, you know, do this and, you know, you'll get a statue, you'll get all money or whatever. We'll do what? You know, cure a disease, you know, defeat these enemies, like do something that's of real value, that, you know, a real honorable thing or objective to achieve, then people would go after those things because there's rewards in doing so. Right now, there's just only punishment, which ironically only brings out the best people we have, because there's no rewards in doing any of this for us. There's jail. There's death, maybe. There's all kinds of terrible. Nobody's coming by to give you a statue or anything anytime soon. But you know, if you wanted people to chase those things, you have to, you know, incentivize it to some degree, or make it the reason you do anything. And that's how very successful societies and countries have operated in the past. And this one has been, you know, going straight steady downhill for about 80 years. And we don't have leaders anymore. Like Kevin was saying, I would say we have businessmen. Like that's what they are. You're a politician. You're not a leader. You're not somebody who cares and who feels genuine heartache and pain over seeing the state of the city and the town and the country, and it brings you. They see like, how do I make money out of this? Right. Can I get? Can me? How do I? They're imagining them out on billboards, and maybe I can be the secretary of this, and I can be that minister, and I can be all the. You're a businessman. This is the exact same way Jeff Bezos was thinking. If I absorb this, you know, business and I can make this money, then I can buy that island. Then I can. It's all, you know, internally ego driven. It's for you, and you can't run a family if you're dad. You know, if it's all about you, maybe that you do really well, but your family's going to suffer, and that's what we have. So they're not leaders, they're not dad, they're not anything. They're just self-interested businessmen and middlemen, and they're, useful idiots, and they're allowed to be there because whoever wins is the one who gets the most money. Who want to run an election? Well, who wins? The one with the most money. Well, they decide who gets all the money. So they decide who wins. It's really that easy. So if we're always using this kind of system, money and everything to compete, we're never going to win that way.
Yeah.
It's even worse than that in some ways. I mean, it's the same incentives that you're talking about in terms of what drives them, but not even a businessman. Imagine you were trying to run a business and you have 20 CEOs. That's basically the system we have now. So even if they were ruthless, even if they were driven by ego, but they accidentally did good things, even out of just like bad motives, they still wouldn't be able to do it in our system.
Too many chiefs problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were in the military, right? I mean, imagine if you had like 10 commanding officers. Now what?
Yeah. Well, this is why the Romans had the dictator. They talk about it like it's a bad thing, but it makes perfect sense.
It was a constitutional office, Yeah,
in normal everyday operations, you've got the democracy, the House, Senate. We're all going to sit down and discuss it. But it's an emergency. We don't have time. It moves much too slow. It'll be a much more comprehensive consensus of where everybody's going to feel comfortable with it. But it's going to take 10 years. Well, the city's on fire. We don't have 10 years. We have 10 hours. So you need a guy we trust him, and whatever he tells us to do, we're doing it. And then that way things are getting done real fast. And then and then when he's done, he's like, all right, everything's resolved. I can go. What was one guy's name? Cincinnati or something? I did it 2 or 3 times. He'd go back to his blueberry farm, leave me alone, and then they'd come back. I'm the emperor for a month. Fine. And then he'd sort it out and leave, go back to his farm. So
it's kind of a white pill in a way, because like you look at what happened with the Venezuela coup there, and it's like, you want to get shit done, just send in 20 white dudes. They'll get it taken care of.
Discombobulator is what we did. We discombobulated them. A lot of people are going to be saying, "Wow, what was that?"
Yeah, that's some kind of State of the Union last night. He was like, "Venezuela, our new friend. They're sending us all this oil."
Kidnap their
president. That was one of the things I really liked about that whole operation. Is he just came out and said, and they're like, "Mr. President, how do you justify this?" And he's like, "Well, they've got a lot of oil, and we want to get that oil." And it's like, you know what? That's the kind of thing I understand.
They had a lot of shit that I wanted, so I wanted to take it. So I took it.
If the Iraq war was like, if Bush had gone up and been like, look, the Iraq war is about oil, I'd have been like, this is a great idea. We obviously should invade Iraq for the oil. It was because they like really believed in this crap about democracy and stuff that it was a bad idea.
Right. Okay, moving on. Zaynal sent $3. CRJ lies, munches on suspiciously crispy calamari rings. Okay, that must be one of your Jewish viewers, or
I don't know what you're doing. Yeah, just
okay.
We need to put armbands on these people or something to identify them, so they just skip over the.
XX Field Marshal. In Australia, we had a cheese called Coon, named after an Occidental family of the same name. People took offense, so the name of the cheese is now Cheer. People are offended by everything these days. Just a raccoon, basically. Ghost Dog Man said, "Thank you guys for the hour of power." Thank you, Ghost Dog Man. Stormy Heart says, "Great to see Jeremy on here." Yeah, it's always fun. It's always a good time. And we'll do plugs here so people know where to find you guys once we get finished. Those are all the Rumble ones. Let me check Power Chat. Uncle Groiper sent $5. Do you think the Jews took the booster shot? I mean, the real question is, did they take the same shot as everybody else? That was kind of one of the conspiracy theories for a while, because they're the only country with like good birth rates, right? I don't necessarily believe all of that stuff, that like the shot was a death serum that made you infertile or whatever, but I don't know.
When Benjamin Netanyahu had a COVID vaccine framed and put on his desk, that was enough for me. People are like, why would you do that? What's that? I'm like, you don't know a war trophy when you see one? And it was like, who owns these? Who is Albert Bourla? Who are these people? I was fairly, antiseptic at the time already. So I'm like, let's just check and see. 5 seconds of Googling. I was like, yeah, I'm never taking this. Over my dead body. I'm never taking it, just because of the names I've seen involved within the first 10 minutes of reading about it. And I don't know. And they were one of the first countries to get really, oh, we're leading the way. We're getting all the vaccines. I'm sure you are.
Right.
Russia and China had their own vaccines of different, the whole thing was, it's the crime of I don't know how long, forever. It may be the biggest crime that's ever happened, parallel to Epstein and all that, which is the same people anyway. So, who knows? I mean, I think it was a lot of, there's a lot of money in the technology, the mRNA technology. There's a lot of like potential gene editing. There's a lot of interesting stuff there, but they could never get clearance to do human trials because it was too dangerous. Too many animals would die. But then they're like, well, if there's an emergency, we get as much test data as we want, which they did, and they got trillions of dollars.
Right. It was a crime just because of the money. I agree with that. I mean, because it's like billions of people didn't die.
They would do that.
Whatever.
Absolutely.
But yeah, they got so much money for a vaccine that nobody needed that didn't do anything. Yeah. It was just a massive, massive transfer of wealth.
So there would be lots of there'd be placebo if that's what happened, if it was a way to test out and let's just get the trial data so we can, check and see what we need to fix or update, whatever. So there would be people that just got nothing, which seems to be the case. There was also inconsistencies. There was websites and stuff tracking which batches seem to have really high prevalence of adverse outcomes and then other ones who didn't. So it was there was seemingly, it wasn't a uniform COVID vaccine or nothing. It was kind of a Russian roulette situation.
You had the different companies too. Wasn't it Johnson & Johnson's, which was not mRNA? It wasn't mRNA, but they had the various health effects, and didn't they have to withdraw it at some point?
There was problems. And so my father works in manufacturing his whole life, and he was like, so you have how many of these vaccines, right? He just started looking this up. How long would it take to make all of these? And it's 20 some years. So you just discovered this, and then you've created all these doses in 2 years, a year and a half, and the world is being held hostage by this devastating virus, and it just so happens that Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, you're like, let's just share, guys. Let's all just share the money of the miracle cure, and we'll all just make sure everybody. What the fuck are you talking about, man? There is every red flag in the world about this. I'm all just digging through the memory bag. I mean, I went 3 nights a week for years. I was just screaming at people, don't do it. But, they did.
Okay, Anonymous sent $13. You old fogies are just too proud and self-assured to cooperate with a young man who is doing something exceptional. If you really treated him with respect and worked together, white people could be helped. Boomers and Gen X irrationally hate Fuentes.
Are you talking about the gay Mexican?
Yeah. Look. First of all, me and Kevin were at AFPAC. I was a VIP invite. He was a keynote speaker, so it's not like we hate Fuentes. And Jeremy, I think Jeremy's point, his main contention from what I picked up, I'm sure there's lots, but the one that I think is defensible is that he thinks people should be organizing in networks like you have Patriot Front here in America as an example, and Nick is really against that kind of stuff. And I do think that probably it's good for people to be organized. So I see where Jeremy is coming from with that. I also understand.
Jeremy, I mean, not to. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but Jeremy, I think you fundamentally agree with Nick about the
voting thing.
The voting thing.
Well, why is he telling people to vote?
He's telling people not to vote.
The last election, the one before that, this isn't.
No, he told people not to vote in 2024.
But not in 2018 or 16. When was that one? 2016.
I mean,
he was out in front of the Capitol building telling people to.
Well, that was 2020. In the last election, he took the same stance that he's taking now, which is don't vote.
I don't know. He's in a different place every week, but he's a phony. I've seen a million people like this a mile. That guy will always choose him over everyone else, no matter what happens. I wouldn't go anywhere fucking near that kid unless it was to drown him in a gas station toilet. That's the only time I would ever.
Okay. All right.
That might be a bit much. I mean, I for what it's worth, I mean, I think
we'll see when his hard drive gets released someday. Then we'll see.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I respect Nick, and I'm also a millennial. I do not. So although that's probably not much better, I'm still an old fogey. I'll concede.
I got friends that are young guys. There's lots of great young guys out there. I just don't think he's one of them.
Okay. Anonymous says, oh wait, that's the exact same super chat. He just sent it twice. No, thank you. No refunds.
Joel Davis is the guy I like also, who's in jail.
It's very Joel Davis needs to be sprung immediately. That's an international disgrace. What's happened to Joel Davis?
That's very hilarious to Fuentes. He finds that very amusing. I just wanted to remind you.
Well, it should be pointed out that we've got a lot of people in Europe, including people who are significantly more mainstream than Joel himself. I think it was, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Martin Sellner spoke out about this. A lot of other people, a lot of people who you would consider to be sort of mainstream nationalists have been speaking out in defense of Joel Davis. I don't think anyone is shortchanging what's happened in Australia. I had Auspill on the show a while back for the live stream, and what's happening in Australia is absolutely terrifying. It's even worse than what's being rolled out in the United Kingdom and Canada.
Well, you know what's funny is JD Vance talks a big
disgrace.
JD Vance talks a big game about, if you put people in jail in England because they're tweeting against migrants, we're going to come after you. We're going to defend people's free speech. Not a peep about Joel Davis, though.
Well, I don't think he said anything about Australia at all. I mean, you wonder if it's just not on the radar because
they're aware. I'm sure they all know. I mean, they would get these intel report, they know. They have people paid to keep track of all this stuff to go, this is something we could use, this is something we should avoid, and so on. So, I mean, if they're not talking about it, it's because they're choosing not to. If Joel was a Jewish guy advocating for Zionism and was he's Greta Thunberg or something.
Yeah, if he was a Jewish guy in jail for complaining about Islam, they'd have bombed Australia. But it's also in all fairness, though, it's not a big story on X where a lot of people they get this kind of news from X, and it's like that Tyler Oliveira guy going to to look at the Jewish welfare. These stories are not nearly as big because so many people are hands off if it has anything to do with anti-Semitism, right?
Should be noted too, in Australia, I believe the Muslim terrorist who shot all those people is actually getting much better treatment than Joel Davis himself.
Yeah, I mean, that's
actually getting to see spiritual leaders get a Quran, all this kind of stuff. Apparently, Joel Davis hasn't even been allowed to get a Bible.
They're just torturing him straight up. That's what this is. If it was anyone else in the world or any from any other walk of life at all, there'd be human rights organizations all over the place going to bat for him. But because they're afraid of what I said earlier, they're the scary, powerful people that run the TV that make the pictures go say that he's bad. So I better not get in their way. So I'll just pretend he doesn't exist and let him be tortured in a prison for terrorists. Because he said, he made vibrations in his throat that came out that made someone feel bad. So he's, insane. It's insane.
Okay. Anonymous sent $5. Thank you for that. No comment. Hold on. Okay. Hold on. There's an angry one for you, Jeremy, came in because of your Nick comment. We'll come back to that. Randall
I'll fight
Flag,
all you kids. I'll fuck all you guys up.
Oh, this is from before. Okay, so that's from a different stream. All right. Heroin rim job. The only shot I take is Fent 07.
What is better, the cocaine rim job or the heroin rim job? Yeah. These are the high-minded questions.
I've not heard the heroin. That must be new. He must be making. I'm surprised this is why he's doing $1 chats now. This is a big reason because he can't.
Yeah.
His money's going elsewhere.
All right, here's the angry one for you. Jeremy is a real tough guy. You'd strangle a gay kid in a truck stop bathroom. The name from your mind, that came from your... I have to translate this typos. That came from your mind, not Nick's.
In Spanish?
No one can deny his ability to speak. There's no one better alive. We all know R, period. It's funny how he calls Nick gay. Usually the defenders would not say that part, but
because they're all gay also. They're it's a homosexual weird cat cult. And I didn't say it would be hard. It doesn't make me tough. It's just like stepping on a bug because it's annoying. You just do it.
Okay.
You just put him in the toilet and just
when
he stops moving, you just let him go and walk away. And you'd be like, hey, maybe he was doing it. Might have been a fetish thing. Truck stop bathrooms are known to have weird, it could happen. You don't know what's going on in there. You see people, call me for a good time. I avoid them. But I imagine if I ever had to go in one, there's a 50% chance he would already be in there.
It's all jokes, guys. Just all fun.
No, I mean, I got to say, look, Nick is... People have said stuff about him for years, and he just keeps rolling from triumph to triumph. I think he's going to be with us for a very long time, and I don't think anybody would deny his skill and his ability to communicate.
Yes, I agree. Somebody sent $20 on YouTube. Thanks for that. And they said, why did the Bride of Dracula quit boxing? She was always going down for the count.
Did I miss something? Maybe I'm just too old to understand these references.
Bride of Dracula. Oh, you talking about Ghislaine Maxwell?
I think it's just
But
a
that doesn't make
bad
sense either.
joke. I think it's just a
Does
bad.
it? I mean, is that what that's a reference to?
I've
think,
been calling them Dracula as like a, so I don't know.
I think the joke is just that Dracula's bride was cheating on him with. Wait, no, the count would be Dracula going down.
No, I mean,
oh,
it
taking
would
a
kind of make
dive
sense.
in boxing. She was taking a
Well,
dive.
that she was going to jail, I guess. I mean, well, wasn't there a thing where they actually brought her in and had her give more testimony or something? And there was even some talk of a deal or something, but then nothing came of it.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
going to
So
name
far,
all the
they're
names,
saying-
and then she's like,
There's
"There's
something,
no names."
something came out that said she may exonerate Trump and say he had nothing to do. It's like, all right, yes, you can trust Ghislaine Maxwell to tell you the truth. Absolutely. If she says Trump's innocent, then give me a break.
Yeah, but I mean, nothing. They didn't. They were coupling that with talk of like a pardon and stuff, and then it just kind of went away. That doesn't mean that it won't happen eventually.
Oh.
But nothing happened. I mean, this
If
was
that's
a few
even
months
her,
ago.
I don't want to feed the conspiracy, because who the fuck knows? I'm not there. I don't know what's going on, but I know that some of the photos they're showing, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, if you've got the kind of dirt that you do on the kind of people that you do, I think anything's possible. So who the hell knows? But it's a distraction. It's like, where is she? Is she? Isn't she? I'm like, I don't care. Why aren't we like Sean Ryan? Why aren't we killing these fucking people? Why aren't we? I like that that's becoming a mainstream thought from, retired special forces operators are just like, why are they alive still? Yes, exactly. These are good. Let's pull this thread for a while. See where this goes. That whole network has to be annihilated.
Okay, we're basically done here. I saw where did that one come? Somebody said you got a new fan. Dude Mon says you got a new fan, Jeremy, because of the Nick hate. I don't know where the chat went, but and then Ghost of Dog Man said Jeremy for North American Emperor. There you go.
It's too much work.
Countries.
I'll take Minnesota and New York, but no, I don't want New York. You know what? No. Even half of Canada is too much. Give me Cape Breton.
We'll give you Minnesota.
All right, guys, that's going to be the show for today. Big thank you to my guests. Why don't you guys, I put, as always, you can find links to the X account and whatever. I put like Kevin's Rumble account, and I put Jeremy's website there. But is there anything else you guys want to plug, shows you got coming up or anything like that you want to let people know about? Jeremy, why don't you go first?
Sure. Yeah, I typically stream on Mondays and Thursday evenings around 8 Eastern, but the time can be 8 Eastern-ish. I usually try to post a alert or something on my Telegram page or even Facebook. Sometimes I use all the links to everything you can find on my website, jeremymackenzie.ca, Substack, social media, whatever I'm still allowed to use. Hopefully it's not banned, but that's where I've been using. So if you want to keep up with anything I'm up to, it's all there. If you're interested in the club here in the country, the Canadian Men's Nationalist Club, Second Sons Canada, you can go to secondsons.org to check out FAQ. There's more information there. There's an application intake form and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, good luck to you. Check it out. We've got about a 14% acceptance rate right now, which ironically, that's not me making that up. That's about every 100 guys that apply, about 14 of them make it to we'll check you out stage. So yeah, it's going well. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Kevin, anything you want to tell people about?
Well, obviously still writing at American Renaissance, amrad.com. On Odyssey and on Rumble, you can find Identity Politics Tuesday, Wednesday, live stream Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Then we got bonus episodes on Fridays for subscribers. If you go to co-fi.com/identitypolitics, you can support the show. And if we get a bit more support, we'll be up to 5 days a week, and we'll go from there. So, and obviously you can find me on X at VDareJamesK.
Yeah, great follow. Both of these guys, great X follows. So make sure you do that, everyone. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thanks to all the super chatters for supporting the show. Big thank you to the guests for taking the time. Really appreciate it. Everybody have a great night, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.